Welcome back to ChannelFrederator. Today we are going to take you back to the past with some truly classic videos. A lot of our biggest videos of all time have been about South Park, and it only makes sense considering how popular the denizens of that trashy mountain town have become. It all started with our old series called Tooned Up, hosted by the one and only KSic Games. Let's hop right into 107 South Park facts everyone should know, originally uploaded on March 26, 2015.
South Park, one of the most popular cartoons ever created. So today here at ChannelFrederator, we're going to be listing 107 South Park facts that everybody should know.
Eric, did you just take a crap on my desk?
What's up? What's up? Crapped on your desk, Doug. What's up with that?
Number 1. The pilot episode of South Park, Cartman Gets an Anal Probe, was animated almost entirely using paper cutouts and stop motion. The series had not yet been picked up, so Trey Parker and Matt Stone did not have the budget to animate it digitally. It is the only episode in the series to not be animated using computers. Number 2. During development, the creators of South Park were brainstorming how to get away with creating a modern-day Archie, complete with misogynistic views and racism. So what did they do? They made him 8 years old and named him Cartman.
Screw you guys. I'm going home.
Number 3. It currently takes the team 6 days to complete an episode. Employees generally work 100 to 120 hours during that time. Number 4. South Park has only missed the deadline for an episode once, due to a blackout. Number 5. In the episode Kenny Dies, Kenny's cycle of being killed off every episode finally ends, and he doesn't appear again until the final episode of the following season. Number 6. Originally, Kyle was the character up for the hatchet. He felt too similar to Stan, and they wanted Butters to join the main cast as his replacement. Number 7. Comedy Central originally refused to air the episode. It hits the fan because of the amount of times the word shit was used. The creators came up with the idea to use the word shit so much in the episode that it becomes meaningless. Surprisingly, executives agreed that the use of the word had become justified and allowed the episode to run.
It somehow loses its punch after multiple viewings.
Number 8. Butters' first name is Leopold. Creators were originally going to name him Poof Poof, but decided otherwise. Number 9. When the episode Trapped in the Closet aired, the Church of Scientology was very offended and paid for an investigation of Trey Parker and Matt Stone. They tried to find incriminating facts on them, but, thanks Elron, they failed. Number 10. In January 1999, EA had to massively recall Tiger Woods' PGA Tour 99 after a worker snuck one of the original South Park shorts, Jesus vs. Santa, onto game discs. Number 11. The crew of The Simpsons enjoyed South Park's anti-Family Guy episode so much, they sent them flowers. Number 12. The South Park song, Chocolate Salty Balls, managed to reach number 1 on the UK singles chart. Number 13. George Clooney repeatedly asked to guest star on South Park. Eventually, the creators offered a part that would have him barking for Stan's gay dog, Sparky. He accepted. Good on you, George Clooney. Good on you. Number 14. Jay Leno provided meows for Cartman's cat.
No, kitty, this is my pet pet.
Number 15. Every episode to date has either featured or mentioned a celebrity. Number 16. Matt Stone and Trey Parker obtained a copy of the script for The Day After Tomorrow prior to its release. They planned on making a puppet film that would follow the script word for word to be released the same day as the film, but were dissuaded by their lawyer. Number 17. Kyle's hair is based off creator Matt Stone's self-proclaimed Jufro. Number 18. Co-creator Matt Stone is the voice of Kenny and muffles his voice by speaking into his hand or sleeve. Number 19. All of Kenny's lines are scripted, even if they're almost impossible to understand. Number 20. Besides being a co-creator, Trey Parker is also the voice of Cartman, who is also his favorite character.
Screw you guys, screw you guys, screw you guys.
Number 21. The majority of Cartman's lines are ad-libbed by Trey Parker.
I thought your family was rich. Nah, 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 blah, 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 blah.
Number 22. The criticism that South Park was nothing but bad animation and fart jokes led to the creation of Terrence and Phillip. Number 23. Mr. and Miss Garrison have first names. Mr. Garrison's first name is Herbert, and Miss Garrison's first name is Janet. Number 24. In the theme song of the first season, Kenny's muffled part is actually, I like girls with big vaginas, I like girls with big fat titties. It was never censored because it was already difficult to make out. Number 25. Every Halloween special, one character dressed up as Chewbacca. Number 26. The band Primus performed South Park's theme song.
I'm going down to South Park, gonna have myself a time.
Number 27. South Park holds the Guinness World Record for most swearing in an animated series. Number 28. Mr. Hanky's The Christmas Poo was created based on Trey Parker's childhood habit of forgetting to flush the toilet. Trey's father used to tell him that if he didn't flush, Mr. Hanky would come out and eat him. Number 29. Cartman's mother is named after an ex-girlfriend of Trey Parker's. He actually caught her cheating on him. Number 30. Chef is based off a real dining hall employee at the University of Colorado. The two creators met him while studying there. Number 31. All the names in Stan's family come from Trey Parker's family, while Kyle's families are from Matt Stone. Number 32. After the episode Le Petit Tourette aired, the Tourette Syndrome Association released a statement praising the show for being well-researched and for serving as a clever device to get accurate information to the public. Number 33. Kenny's character is based off a real-life childhood friend of Trey Parker's who was also named Kenny. Kenny was the poorest kid in town and always wore a large parka that made him hard to hear. He would frequently skip school, which caused other students to joke around that he died. Number 34. South Park's lawyers wouldn't allow Trey Parker to call Tom Cruise gay directly, so he put him in the closet instead.
I'm never coming out!
Number 35. Mr. Mackey is based off of Trey Parker's old school counselor, Mr. Lackey.
Okay. Okay.
Number 36. After Kanye West interrupted Taylor Swift at the 2009 MTV Music Awards,
I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish.
Comedy Central played the South Park episode Fish Sticks on repeat for 2 hours. Number 37. A character named Alex who only appeared in one South Park episode called Red Man's Greed was voiced by Alex Glick. Alex earned the role by being the highest bidder at a charity auction to benefit AIDS research. Number 38. The Pokemon parody episode that appears in South Park, Chimpokemon, is Japanese for penis monster.
I've got to buy Pokemon. I've got to buy it. I've got to buy it.
And if you didn't know, Pokemon is Japanese for pocket monsters. Yeah, we see what you did there, guys. Number 39. The chairman of Scientology's niece first learned about the story of Xenu through South Park. She left Scientology shortly after. Number 40. In the credits of Trapped in the Closet, all the names in the credits read as John Smith and Jane Smith because of Tom Cruise and the Church of Scientology's reputation for frequently suing people. Number 41. The movie South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut was originally issued an NC-17 rating. Number 42. Casa Bonita, the Mexican restaurant that appears in South Park, is a real restaurant in Denver. Number 43. Frito-Lay sold 1.5 million bags of cheesy poofs at Walmart in collaboration with Comedy Central in 2011. Number 44. When Kenny dies and Stan or Kyle would yell out,
Oh my god, they killed Kenny! You bastard!
the word they was actually alluding to Stone and Parker. Number 45. Prior to season 8, Chef was never shown from any other perspective than a frontal view, even when exiting a scene. This is because for 7 years, creators never drew a side view for him. Number 46. Chef was written out of the show after Isaac Hayes, the voice of Chef, requested to exit his contract prematurely. He was very unhappy with how the show portrayed his religion, Scientology. Number 47. Butters is based off of Eric Stowe, South Park's animation director.
Like, we're gonna put you in the show, Butters. Yeah,
He's like, well, you better not. I'll get awful mad.
he's here. He's sitting. He's here.
Number 48. Jerry Seinfeld was a fan of South Park, so his agent contacted the creators about a potential guest spot. He was offered the role of a background turkey in Starvin' Marvin. He refused the offer. Number 49. Professor Chaos, Butter's supervillain alter ego, is based on Marvel's Doctor Doom. Number 50. In Cartman's Mom is Still a Dirty Slut, it's revealed that Cartman's mother is a hermaphrodite. However, in 2001, this is shown to be a lie made up to protect the Denver Broncos.
The Broncos have never thanked us for our help. Go Broncos!
Number 51. In the show, it's easy to distinguish Canadians from Americans because Canadians have floppy heads with separable tops and bottoms paired with beady eyes. Number 52. Chef's full name is Jerome McElroy. Number 53. Lemmiwink's journey through Mr. Slave's body in The Death Camp of Tolerance is meant to be a parody of The Hobbit. It turned out a lot of people didn't catch that.
Lemmiwinks, 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 Lemmiwinks.
Number 53. 4 different versions of the song Stinky Britches are sung throughout the series by Cartman, Chef, Alanis Morissette, and Marilyn Manson. Number 55. Prior to the airing of Trapped in the Closet, Tom Cruise had wanted to voice a character on South Park. Yeah, that's a bit awkward. Number 56. South Park has been nominated for 13 Emmy Awards and has won 5. Number 57. South Park was the first weekly show ever to obtain a TVMA rating. Number 58. In the deleted ending of Fish Sticks, Kanye West drowns and the Coast Guard recovers his dead body. Number 59. Doug Herzog, a TV executive, credits South Park for having put Comedy Central on the map. Number 60. Sri Lanka banned South Park after the episode 200 depicted Buddha snorting cocaine with Jesus. Number 61. Kyle's birthday is May 26, while Stan's birthday is October 26. They share birthdays with the creators Matt Stone and Trey Parker. Number 62. Dr. Sophie Rushman of the University of Strasbourg discovered a mutated gene in fruit flies that caused them to die within 2 days after bacterial infection. She named it KEP1 after Kenny McCormick. Number 63. Outside the other inspirations for Cartman, he is also based off a high school classmate of Trey's. The two still remain close friends. Number 64. Cartman's middle name is Theodore. Ha! What a dork. Number 65. Scott Titterman Must Die was written by Matt and Trey to reveal that Eric Cartman is the most evil kid in the world.
Your tears are so yummy.
Number 66. Cartman has only been arrested 6 times, though he has committed murder, rape, arson, prostitution, and forced cannibalism, attempted genocide, manslaughter, animal abuse, hate crimes, grave robbery, war crimes, child abuse, vandalism, theft, piracy, embezzlement, shoplifting, terrorism, drug possession, smuggling, armed robbery, and more. He's a nice guy. Number 67. The KFC turned weed dispensary in Medical Fried Chicken is based on an actual weed dispensary in Los Angeles. After a Kentucky Fried Chicken went out of business, the store was bought and turned into Kind for Cures. Number 68. When he has writer's block, Trey Parker plays with Legos. Number 69. In 2007, South Park was included in Time's 100 Greatest Shows of All Time. Number 70. South Park has won a Peabody Award, praising it as one of TV's boldest, most politically incorrect satirical series. Number 71. When the production company logo appears at the end of each South Park episode, the music playing is from the song Shadoinkle. The song was originally used in Trey Parker's student film, Cannibal the Musical.
The sky is blue and all the leaves are green.
Number 72. In 1992, South Park's creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone collaborated on an animated short called The Spirit of Christmas, Jesus vs. Frosty. It was made entirely with construction paper and glue, and was one of the very first viral videos ever created. Number 73. Brian Greedon, a Fox executive, saw The Spirit of Christmas and paid Parker and Stone to create a similar animation that he could use as a Christmas card. They created Jesus vs. Santa. Comedy Central saw the video and gave the two a shot at their very own show, which would end up being our beloved South Park.
Go, Santa! Go, Jesus!
Number 74. Nancy Cartwright was invited to audition for the pilot of South Park. She walked out of the audition in disgust. Number 75. When Mr. Garrison is told by the school counselor that Mr. Hat is a manifestation of his gay side, Mr. Hat is replaced by Mr. Twig, a hand puppet with a pink triangular patch on his shirt. The same patch was used in Nazi concentration camps to identify homosexuals. Number 76. Mary Kay Bergman voiced most of the female characters in South Park until her death in 1999. Afterwards, the roles were taken on by Eliza Schneider. Number 77. The first season averaged about 250,000 per episode. This may sound expensive to you, but this was much less than the standard of 600,000 at the time. Number 78. When the show first began, the most expensive ad spot cost $7,500. Within months of its debut, they could demand over $30,000. Number 79. An episode that referenced Terry Schiavo aired only hours before her death. Number 80. The episode About Last Night aired less than a day after Obama's victory speech and used actual excerpts from from it. Man, they're so quick. Number 81. South Park was originally animated in Power Animator, but switched over to Maya at the start of season 5. Number 82. These three all offered to do voices for the show, but were rejected. Number 83. Co-creator Trey Parker is mainly credited for writing and directing, while co-creator Matt Stone is mainly credited for production coordination and voice acting. Number 84. Mr. Hat is based off a children's book character named Hi-Hat. Hi-Hat is a puppet that teaches children the letters of the alphabet. Number 85. The music played during the closing credits is the original Primus opening song, Slow Down. Number 86. The main boys, Cartman, Stan, Kyle, and Kenny, never showed their hair in early seasons. Over the years, however, their hair has been revealed. Number 87. One of Cartman's less common catchphrases is,
Haha, Sherrod, you are.
he says it in a British accent and is a reference to the Pink Floyd song, Pigs. 3 different ones. Number 88. In the episode Pink Eye, most of the German heard from Hitler in That Guy Hitler is nonsense. His second line, however, translates roughly to, I love your breast, dear. Number 89. Kyle does not have a single line in the episode, Butter's very own episode. Poor Kyle. Number 90. The creators of South Park were asked to write a prequel to Dumb and Dumber. They worked on it for 2 years, but ended up being too busy with South Park to complete it. Number 91. Matt Stone and Trey Parker are big Star Trek fans and try to squeeze in references whenever they can.
Thrusters are at 20%, Captain.
Number 92. The episode Jared Has AIDS has never had a rerun on Comedy Central due to all the AIDS jokes. Number 93. In the episode A Ladder to Heaven, the TV studio backgrounds are identical to the ones used in the military base in Towley. You can tell by looking at the maps on the wall. Number 94. Terrence and Phillip in
Not Without My Anus
actually aired the day Cartman's Mom Is Still a Dirty Slut was supposed to premiere. It was April Fool's Day, so the creators thought it would be funny to show the wrong episode.
But it didn't go over very well. Most of America hated it.
Comedy Central received numerous phone calls from angry viewers who had been waiting for the reveal of Cartman's father. Number 95. In Chicken Lover,
Whoa, dude, how do you have sex with a chicken?
when everyone's favorite South Park officer returns to the school, the letters on the alphabet chart say something in Spanish. It's translated to,
Oh my god, they killed Kenny! You bastards!
Number 96. When the demonic voices are singing in Demian, if you pay close attention, you can sometimes hear them say, cheesy poofs. Number 97. In their 200th two-part episode, South Park depicted the Prophet Mohammed paving the way for a huge conflict.
Come on, people, you really think anybody's gonna be that pissed off about a cartoon?
In part 1, Muhammad is present but never shown. A group called Revolution Muslim protested and implied that the creators would be killed for their actions. As a result, Comedy Central had Muhammad's character edited in part 2 and censored all mentions of his name. Stone and Parker were very much against this.
Something that was okay is now not okay, and that's just up.
Number 98. With all the commotion surrounding the 200th episode, it's very interesting to note that in the 2001 episode of South Park titled Super Best Friends, they depicted Muhammad without controversy. Number 99. Parker and Stone hate the early video game adaptations of South Park. This is why they were more involved in the making of the highly rated South Park The Stick of Truth. Number 100. Yes! An elephant makes love to a pig originally had a scene where Shelly repeatedly set Stan on fire with matches before drenching him with water. Comedy Central cut it right before broadcast because they feared children would imitate the act in a similar fashion to what happened with the Beavis and Butthead controversy. If you watch the episode, this cut scene explains why there's a puddle under Stan after he's beaten up. Number 101. The creators disliked the episode Chef Goes Nanners and have admitted that it was rushed because they wanted to leave early for the holiday weekend. Number 102. The episode Pip was universally hated by all the staff that worked on it, especially Trey Parker. As a result, it isn't aired often. Number 103. Barry White was originally considered for the role of Chef, but he turned it down because he found the content offensive. Number 104. Parker and Stone are friends with Bill Hader, and he has occasionally served as a writer, producer, and voice actor for the show since its 12th season. Number 105. The animated director listed below animated several episodes in season 11 and 12. Number 106. In 1997, Comedy Central was in 9.1 million homes. By 1998, after the premiere of South Park, it was in 50 million homes. By 2003, it was in 82 million homes. And finally, guys, number 107, Timmy was originally going to be a one-time character, but he was so popular that the creators kept him around.
Man, that really made me crave some cheesy poofs. Anyone else? Well, get ready for even more of the delectable dairy-based snack, because South Park Elementary's premier snack-eating sociopath is the focus of our next video. We had to come up with a follow-up to our 107 facts after that one drummed up over 11 million views. And what better way to drum up some controversy than with Eric Cartman's history of doing absolutely terrible things. Get ready for the 9 worst things Cartman has ever done, hosted by Tim Jablonski.
The kids in South Park are pretty terrible as a whole. They're all vulgar, mean, and selfish. But for all their faults, the kids have redeeming qualities. All of them, perhaps, except Eric Cartman. Cartman may very well be the meanest kid in all of cartoons. Scratch that, Eric Cartman might be the meanest person, kid, or adult in all of cartoons. Cartman has very few moments of humanity. Most of the time, he seems content to find the way to inflict the most harm possible in the least amount of time. And he doesn't settle for standard evil like taking over the world or getting revenge. Cartman destroys people in very personal, intimate ways. To put it bluntly, Cartman does some effed up stuff. Some of the most effed up things in all of cartoon history. So let's celebrate the best of the worst. My name is Tim, and today on ChannelFrederator, we're counting down the top 9 effed up things Cartman has done. Let's get started. Number 9. Cartman helps the South to rise again. Cartman takes bets very seriously. Seriously enough to wage entire wars across the country. When he joins the Confederacy in a Civil War reenactment, he declares he can win the war. After the boys bet on it, he not only rewrites the outcome of the current battle, but convinces his Southern brethren to march all the way to Fort Sumter and beyond in a glorious campaign, filled with a lot of letters to the home front and all the s'more schnapps you can drink. That's why the whole town goes along with this, by the way. They're drunk on s'more schnapps. This is quite a way to start off a list like this, but with the exception of Kenny, nobody gets hurt. No lives are destroyed. Cartman wants to win a bet and enslave Kyle and Stan, but he's not invested in the South's victory beyond that. It's effed up, but comparatively speaking, it's pretty mild. For the record, he doesn't win the war either. Stan and Kyle outwit him by reenacting Lincoln and Jefferson Davis negotiating a surrender. Therefore, Cartman as Robert E. Lee has to stand down. Number 8, destroying a television nanny. Cartman's mother has had enough of his shenanigans, and considering what her son is capable of, it's a miracle she lasted as long as she did. So she hires every nanny she can think of from television. Eric Cartman responds about as well as you'd expect, though it does present a fun look at the authority behind a timeout chair. It's startling how much kids will do because they're told they have to, even if there's nothing forcing them to obey. Like all television nannies, this one is hoping for an emotional conclusion. The cameras love a story about a kid's vulnerabilities and learning to communicate them. So when Cartman opens up about being scared about his life changing, she pounces. She answers all of his questions like a loving nanny, and he tricks her into talking about herself, until he finds the chink in the armor. She was never able to have kids or a relationship, and he twists that knife over and over until she breaks, storming out. There's a lot of sadistic characters in television. It's a trope at this point, but few have the calculating power of Eric Cartman. He finds and exploits every weakness until there's nothing left but a husk, and this is one of the more merciful ones on the list. Number 7, entering the Special Olympics under false pretenses. Cartman is evil, but he's also an enterprising boy. When Jimmy and Timmy are entering the Special Olympics, Cartman learns the best athlete gets $1,000 cash. Set on winning it and thinking he can beat the average competitor, Cartman fakes a mental disability in order to enter and win prizes. It's a lot like the movie The Ringer, but with less reverence and more steroid abuse. Turns out, despite all his effort and research, Cartman is nowhere near capable enough to best the other athletes. He comes in dead last in every event. It's effed up, but seeing immediate comeuppance helps soften the blow here. Also, it's a bit overshadowed by Jimmy using steroids and beating up his girlfriend, which is also effed up. Number 6, faking Tourette's to say what you want. Apparently, Cartman has a streak of faking disabilities. When Cartman meets a kid with Tourette's, he's confused and mean, and then after learning more, sees a golden opportunity. He decides to fake having Tourette's so that he's allowed to say whatever he wants to anybody. Cussing, insults, deep personal personal secrets he doesn't want anyone to know? Okay, the last one is more punishment than something he wanted. Somehow this seems worse than faking to get into the Special Olympics to me. The Special Olympics gambit requires at least some athletic effort and has a rational reward of $1,000. This doesn't. Cartman just goes out of his way to curse and shout and be mean and a nuisance. Credit where it's due though, I laughed way too hard at his rendition of I Got a Golden Ticket. Number 5, The Christmas Critters Story. Cartman has an active and healthy imagination and comes up with an original Christmas story for the whole class to hear. It involves a bunch of cute animal critters asking for Stan's help in creating a manger for their savior. Stan obliges with all their requests, even killing a lion that had been harrying the poor creatures, only to learn that they worshipped Satan and were attempting to bring the Antichrist into the world. The story then goes off the rails and becomes a story about trying to administer an abortion to stop the Antichrist's birth. And then Kyle being possessed because he's Jewish. It's horrifying, anti-Semitic, and definitely effed up. I know Mr. Garrison didn't ever care about his job, but even still, I can't believe he lets the story continue for as long as he does. It's not surprising that Cartman would take a dig at Kyle, but this story just has so much horror baked into it. It's almost like watching a Disney movie and then learning about the much darker story it's based on. Number 4, Cartman ruins his future life out of spite. It turns out there's a whole business in faking future versions of kids to try and scare them into doing the right thing. At least that's what the parents of South Park think. It turns out the whole thing is a sham and the kids aren't as bad as their parents think they are. But the idea of future selves gets Cartman thinking about his own future. He realizes that maybe he should eat right and mellow out. At the moment he makes that decision, his own future self comes in to congratulate him. This future self, unlike the others, is successful, saying that Cartman becomes the CEO of a time travel company. To be fair, it's reasonable that Cartman would suspect this is a sham. The other future selves were. Cartman decides to spite this hopeful future by choosing to eat whatever junk foods and do drugs whenever he feels like. You see his successful future self transform into a miserable mechanic. Cartman doesn't just ruin other lives out of spite, he will ruin his own life out of spite. Number 3, using stem cells to create a pizza parlor. Cartman doesn't seem like the kind of person that would approve stem cell research to save a life. He doesn't care about the lives of others beyond what they can do for him. Why should he expend any effort to help anyone else that's sick? Why does he do it here? Well, he doesn't lobby for stem cell research to save a life, but rather clone a pizza parlor. The way he figures, if a stem cell can become anything, then enough should be able to take the shape and become a pizza place. It succeeds, or at least it nearly succeeds, in defiance of all science and reason, but the fact that Cartman can just smile and look over this horrible amalgamation of cells in roughly pizza shape is definitely effed up, no matter how you look at it. Number 2, Cartman responds to anger management. When Cartman misinterprets a height chart in the school hallway, his anger gets the best of him, leading to an unfortunate misunderstanding and public male anatomy chart. The principal thinks it would be best if Cartman got a few anger management sessions in, so that he can be calm and think through situations. Fair enough. So Cartman goes to anger management and seems pretty cool-headed. The counselor tries to pry rage out of him by insulting his size. If you've been paying attention, crossing Cartman in any way is a mistake. Or is it? Despite all the counselor's prodding, Cartman just sits there. He might be the most even-tempered kid ever. Look at him, he's just texting. Until, of course, the counselor gets a phone call. His wife is babbling about a police report and an underage girl and infidelity before killing herself. After this all goes down, Cartman puts down his phone and just says, "I'm not fat, I'm just big boned." It's utterly chilling. And finally, number 1, the Chili Con Carnival. We're not going to pretend this was anything other than number 1, the quintessential evil Cartman moment. When older kid Scott Tenorman tortures and bullies young Cartman, Cartman decides he has to counterprank Scott to alleviate his torment. At least that's the nice version of what happens. Cartman doesn't just solve the problem or get simple revenge. What he does is so much worse. He deliberately puts himself in a position where Scott thinks he can pull a big prank on Eric via chili cook-off. In reality, Cartman expected this prank and reveals his own. He murdered Scott's parents and cooked them into the chili. Scott eats his own parents. Eric uses all of his encounters with Scott to learn more about him and then annihilate him. That's why he keeps talking about training a horse to bite off Scott's wiener. It's so that Scott will try and get rid of the horse, which will in turn lead to his parents trespassing on the farm and getting shot. And that's not enough. While Scott's crying in horror, Cartman licks his tears and revels in the anguish. It is the gold standard of effed up things any character has ever done. Also, Cartman has Scott's favorite band Radiohead show up just in time to call him a crybaby. Frosty.
Screw you guys, I'm going home.
June 25th, 2016 feels like it was just yesterday. Next up is a 1-2 punch of South Park themed hits. Our 107 Facts and Cartman videos did so well that we had to come up with a sequel for both of them. These videos would be an early Christmas gift for all the good little boys and girls waiting out there so patiently. So on December 9th and 10th, 2016, ChannelFrederator lit up with 107 South Park Facts You Should Know Part 2 and 9 more effed up things Cartman has done, respectively.
What does 107 Facts have in common with South Park? We've always got more material to cover. From Kenny's last death to the inspiration behind Butters, we've got more to tell you about your favorite South Park residents. Hi, I'm JD with ChannelFrederator, and we're here to dish another set of zany moments and info about this small town and its crazy citizens that you may not know.
Yeah, flip the cop car! Flip the cop car!
So get your snowcaps and satire face ready, because we're counting down 107 more facts about South Park. Let's get started. Number 1. The show's iconic stop-motion paper cutout animation style was inspired by Terry Gilliam's paper cutout style from Monty Python's Flying Circus. South Park creators Matt Stone and Trey Parker are huge fans of Monty Python's Flying Circus. Number 2. In the first South Park original short, Jesus vs. Frosty, the name Kenny was associated with the character designed to serve the basis for Cartman. In the short, there's even a character that looks identical to the Kenny seen in the main series, but he isn't given a name.
Oh my god! Frosty killed Kenny!
Number 3. Pixar films heavily influenced South Park's writing style. According to Stone and Parker, Pixar taught them that you can take a basic, played-out plot and make the story unique by adding small twists, so an otherwise cliché story becomes something fresh and exciting. Number 4. In the unaired pilot episode, Cartman had a father and even a younger sister. They're briefly seen when Cartman's mom is setting the table for dinner. Number 5. The pilot episode of South Park had a budget of $300,000. It was written by Matt Stone and Trey Parker, and Parker directed it as well. Number 6. While the first episode was made out of construction paper cutouts, the actual process of animating the whole episode largely fell on Matt Stone and Trey Parker, with some help from animation director Eric Stowe. Number 7. They created the starry night sky by putting holes into a black poster board and illuminating it from behind. The pooling of Kenny's blood was simulated by drawing an initial dot with a red marker pen, and gradually drawing more blood with every frame. Number 8. The characters who weren't speaking rarely moved, which saved on time and animation, so they're just staring blankly. Number 9. The finished pilot was 28 minutes long, which was too long to air. Trey Parker and Matt Stone didn't realize that more time should have been allowed for television commercials. In order to shorten the episode to 22 minutes, Parker and Stone had to cut out a good chunk of material. Number 10. The idea for the town of South Park came from the real Colorado basin of the same name, where, according to the creators, a lot of folklore and news reports originated about UFO sightings, cattle mutilations, and Bigfoot sightings. Sounds like paradise. Number 11. Parker and Stone's original intentions for the pilot were to have the aliens' presence feature more frequently in the following episodes, but eventually they decided against this, because they didn't want the show to look like a parody of the popular science fiction TV series The X-Files. Number 12. During Season 1's opening theme song, a TV can be seen in the background playing Matt Stone and Trey Parker's very first South Park short, Jesus vs. Frosty. Not long after, a billboard appears playing a clip from their updated version of the short, retitled The Spirit of Christmas. Number 13. The reason the episode Cartman Gets an Anal Probe contains so much explicit language
Don't call my brother a dildo! What's a dildo?
is that Parker felt pressured to live up to the standards of their original short, The Spirit of Christmas, which contains a lot of obscenities. As a result, Parker admitted that they may have tried to push things farther than they should have. Number 14. Each episode of South Park is made within the span of only 6 days. For other series, it usually takes months to complete an episode. Matt Stone and Trey Parker believe that pushing their crew to create episodes within 6 days encourages them to be more spontaneous in the creative process, making for a funnier show in the end. Number 15. Randy Marsh and Trey Parker's dad have a lot in common. Not only are they both named Randy, but they're also both geologists. Number 16. Hector Token Black was the only African-American child in South Park until the introduction of Nicole in Cartman Finds Love during season 16. Number 17. Before Adrian Beard came on to play Token as a character, Parker and Stone originally took turns providing their voices for the few lines Token had as a minor character. Number 18. Officer Barbrady's voice is based on the voice of syndicated radio talk show host Dennis Prager. According to Trey Parker, Prager has a big, bombastic, and stupid voice that's oh so fun to mock.
That is the silliest thing I've ever heard.
Number 19. Tally was created as an inside joke with the writing team when they took a boating trip. Some of the writers decided to take up wakeboarding, and somebody shouted, "Don't forget to bring a towel!" Then everybody started saying this phrase in high-pitched voices, and thus, Tally was born. Tally is also a parody of characters that are created specifically to sell merchandise, which, oddly enough, Tally did.
Don't preach to me, fatso!
Number 20. Trey Parker was originally meant to voice Tally, but the crew thought his voice for the character sounded identical to Mr. Hanky.
Howdy ho, cow!
So Tally's voice wound up being provided by Vernon Chapman, who was a writer and producer on the show. Number 21. The Super Best Friends were based on a long-running inside joke that Matt and Trey had, that all the religious deities were close friends and hung out together on a spaceship responding to crimes, much like the Justice League.
Seaman, you and Swallow go get us sushi for dinner!
Number 22. In the episode Weight Gain 4000, Kathy Lee Gifford awards Cartman a trophy featuring a golden Orgasmo on top. Orgasmo was the protagonist of a film of the same name that was written and directed by Trey Parker. The Orgasmo trophy returns as a dodgeball trophy in the episode Conjoined Fetus Lady. Number 23. Cartman's cat, Mr. Kitty, has changed genders throughout the course of the series. In Season 3, Mr. Kitty is a sought-after female cat in Heat that partakes in a cat orgy of epic proportions. In Season 12, it's revealed that Mr. Kitty can spray out a concentrated urine required for cheesing, something only male cats can do. Number 24. When Butters was just a non-speaking background character, he was referred to as Puff Puff for the first 2 seasons. It wasn't until the Season 3 episode, Two Guys Naked in a Hot Tub, that he got his big break. Number 25. The song Montage in the sports training sequence during the episode Aspen is the same song used in Matt and Trey's 2004 film Team America World Police, but with slightly altered lyrics. Number 26. Many of the show's staff veterans voice recurring characters on the show. Supervising producer Jennifer Howe voices Wendy's best friend Bebe Stevens. Number 27. South Park has a habit of changing their characters' names over the course of the series. Jimmy Vollmer's last name was originally Swanson, Token Black's last name used to be a less blunt Williams, and Chris Stotch was originally Steven Stotch. Number 28. Matt Stone and Trey Parker apparently don't remember creating the Season 3 episode Sexual Harassment Panda. They attribute this to their exhilarating efforts creating South Park bigger, longer, and uncut, whose production had ended around the same time Season 3's production began. They compare the production of Season 3 to something of a dream, with episodes like Sexual Harassment Panda being composed of delusionary writing. Despite this, they think the episode's still pretty funny. Number 29. Parker and Stone initially wrote the film South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut as something as a grand finale for the TV series. They personally thought that the show's second and third seasons were terrible enough to warrant its cancellation. Figuring they had nothing else to lose, they decided to make the movie a musical. Number 30. Production on South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut lasted for just 1 year. It usually takes an average of 3 years to complete a feature-length animated film. Number 31. Originally, the movie's title was South Park All Hell Breaks Loose. The Motion Picture Association of America had a strict rule forbidding the use of the word hell in a movie title for the sake of the film's promotional material. Even though plenty of movies before South Park had used the word hell in their titles, Matt Stone and Trey Parker gave in to the MPAA. Instead of All Hell Breaks Loose, Stone and Parker made their title into a dick joke. Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, which the MPAA actually approved, only realizing the title's true meaning afterwards. Number 32. South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut cost $21 million to make, and went on to rake in over $52 million domestic and over $80 million worldwide. Number 33. At the end of South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, Kenny removes his hood for the first time in South Park history. Number 34. In the film, Kenny is voiced by Mike Judge, creator of Beavis and Butthead and King of the Hill.
Yep.
Number 35. Since the film, Kenny also talked without his hood in the Halloween episode A Nightmare on FaceTime. Kenny goes dressed as Iron Man, and his voice is only slightly modded with a robot voice. Number 36. In the credits for South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, Saddam Hussein is credited as being played by himself. Even the credits have jokes. Number 37. In the film, the song called What Would Brian Boitano Do is a callback to a joke from the old short The Spirit of Christmas, in which the boys ask themselves, what would Brian Boitano do if he had to support either Santa or Jesus in the fight? Instead, the Olympic skater takes the high road and teaches the boys about the true meaning of Christmas, just like the real Brian Boitano would do. Number 38. What would Brian Boitano do if he found out South Park was ribbing on him? He'd take it in stride and find it hilarious. Boitano loves that an entire generation of children look at him as some sort of Chuck Norris type figure, even if they know nothing of his victories in the Olympics. VH1 even did a special on South Park, in which they tried to get celebrities that the show picked on to come on and discuss the episodes. The thick-skinned Brian Boitano was the only one that participated. Kanye could learn a thing or two from Brian. Number 39. While Stone and Parker didn't need permission to use Brian Boitano's name and likeness in their movie, Brian apparently needed Stone and Parker's permission to use What Would Brian Boitano Do on t-shirts he created for charity. Number 40. The South Park movie's song, Hell Isn't Good, was performed by Metallica's James Hetfield. Apparently, he wanted to keep this performance a secret. Number 41. You can see at the end of the film that, according to Cartman's battle with Saddam Hussein, his V-chip considers the name Barbra Streisand a swear word. Number 42. Long before he would receive praise for his Broadway musical, The Book of Mormon, Trey Parker received praise for his musical talents at the Academy Awards in 2000. Parker was nominated for Best Original Song for Blaine Canada in South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. Number 43. Trey Parker and Matt Stone attended the 72nd Academy Awards dressed like women, specifically in outfits that resemble dresses previously worn by Gwyneth Paltrow and Jennifer Lopez. They also decided to take acid before coming to the ceremony. Not your typical Oscar pre-party. Or is it? Number 44. Being the huge South Park nerd that he was, Robin Williams led a stellar live performance of the movie's Oscar-nominated song, Blame Canada. Number 45. The episode Proper Condom Use was based on teenagers' frustrations in the 80s due to the general public's demonization of sex during the AIDS epidemic, and Parker and Stone were 80s teens, of course. Number 46. The buttheads seen in How to Eat With Your Butt were based off comics that Trey Parker drew in high school, in which people had butts for heads. At one point, he seriously considered making it a premise for a show, but thought it would have been too juvenile. Coming from the co-creator of Terrence and Phillip, that's really saying something. Number 47. The fight between Timmy and Jimmy in Cripple Fight was choreographed after an identical fight sequence in the movie They Live. They even animated it to the movie's original score. Number 48. Jimmy was supposed to be a one-off character that was created specifically to fight Timmy in Cripple Fight. In that episode, he actually isn't from South Park, but from a nearby town. Jimmy later spontaneously showed up in the classroom of South Park Elementary without explanation, simply because the writers loved him so much, even arguably more than Timmy. Number 49. According to a penis size chart seen in the episode TMI, Timmy's full name is Timmy Birch. Penis charts can teach you a lot. Number 50. A rumor circulated that Trey and Matt had two versions of the episode About Last Night produced. One where Obama won the 2008 election, and another where John McCain won.
Boom, baby!
This is false. The South Park crew thought Obama would win, so the only episode they produced focused on his victory. Their backup plan, if McCain won, was that they would overdub the episode with drunken commentary, creating something similar to Mystery Science Theater 3000. Number 51. While most South Park episodes are made in 6 days, the Imagination Land saga was developed over a course of 3 months prior to its air date. Why? Because Imagination Land was intended to be the second South Park movie, but the crew thought the story didn't loan itself well to a theatrically released film. They decided instead to split the story up into 3 episodes released over the course of 3 weeks. Despite this change of heart, the Imagination Land saga was released later on DVD and edited together to resemble a feature-length film. Number 52. Due to voice actor Isaac Hayes' abrupt departure from the show, Chef's lines in his final episode, The Return of Chef, are all spliced sentences using recordings from previous episodes. Strangely enough, it actually fits into the idea of Chef being brainwashed pretty well. Number 53. Darth Chef's voice actor, Peter Serafinowicz, also dubbed Darth Maul's line in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Number 54. In the episode I'm a Little Bit Country, Benjamin Franklin was voiced by none other than Norman Lear. Lear is responsible for creating the TV classics All in the Family, The Jeffersons, and Sanford & Son. Number 55. Man-Bear Pig is an allegory for global warming. Parker and Stone came up with the idea for the creature after watching former Vice President Al Gore's documentary about global warming, called An Inconvenient Truth. In the film, Al Gore repeatedly preaches about the dangers of global warming and how nobody takes him seriously, but that they should. In the South Park episode, the creators show Gore as being somewhat desperate and using this cause for his own fame. Number 56. The scene where Cartman revives Kyle after the Man-Bear Pig attack is similar to the CPR scene between Ed Harris and Elizabeth Mastrantonio in The Abyss. Number 57. Nobody on the writing staff knew who Mysterion was at the time of his first appearance, except for Parker and Stone, who always knew he was actually Kenny. Number 58. In the episode Mysterion Rises, the scene in which Cartman bonds with Cthulhu is a shot-for-shot replica of a scene from the Studio Ghibli film My Neighbor Totoro. Number 59. The episode Gluten-Free Ebola was based on the entire South Park's writing room adopting a gluten-free diet. It began when one writer named Kurt became gluten-free and claimed he was much happier because of it. The rest of the writers made fun of him, until they slowly began adopting a gluten-free diet one by one, with the exception of one staff writer. I guess he really needs his cheesy poofs.
I love cheesy poofs. You love cheesy poofs.
Number 60. For season 18, Randy was just supposed to pretend to be Lord. But everything changed after Parker and Stone read an article in response to the first episode, in which Randy dressed up as Lord. The journalist called South Park's staff insensitive for making Lord Stan's father, claiming Lord was an artist with depth and deserved better. After reading the article, the South Park writers decided to make this journalist's twisted perception of reality. Thus, Randy became Lord's true identity. Number 61. Lord responded to her South Park representation, as well as a young female pop star being accused of being a 45-year-old male geologist can. She personally found it hilarious, and found herself singing, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I am Lord," for hours after seeing the episode. Number 62. In the episode Snook, Hillary Clinton's southern accent is a spoof on when she delivered a speech in Selma, Alabama in a notable southern drawl. Number 63. The Chewbacca defense used in the episode Chef Aid was a fictitious defense used by Johnny Cochran.
That does not make sense!
Similar to his red herring tactics in the O.J. Simpson trial. Cochran stated to the jury, "If it doesn't fit, you must acquit," in reference to an earlier part in the trial, when prosecutor Christopher Darden asked Mr. Simpson to try on a bloody glove found at the murder scene.
If Chewbacca lives on Endor, you must acquit!
Number 64. For the season 18 finale featuring PewDiePie, the online game vlogger actually recorded his lines while on vacation in Japan and suffering from a bad case of the flu. Wow, that's a trooper. Number 65. PewDiePie has actually done a Let's Play of South Park: The Stick of Truth. Despite how many game publishers typically feel about Let's Plays, Parker and Stone are actually appreciative of the ones for Stick of Truth and see them as free publicity for their product. Number 66. In the episode Go Fund Yourself, Washington Redskins owner Star's Dan Snyder picks up a thrown-out newspaper, looks into the camera, and cries. This is actually a reference to a commercial for a long-running ad campaign by Keep America Beautiful Inc., a foundation committed to preventing pollution in the United States. The commercial featured a powerful image of a Native American looking into the camera and crying. Number 67. The episode Freemium Isn't Free was based on pitches the South Park studio received from developers of freemium games, who wanted to create a freemium game similar to The Simpsons Tapped Out or Family Guy The Quest for Stuff. The developers put an emphasis on creating an addicting slot machine experience first and a good game last. Number 68. Happy Holograms was based on Parker and Stone's own frustrations with the death of the communal television experience that families once shared. They find that now their wives and children are separated from each other by their various tablets, which they prefer over an actual TV. Number 69. For the episode Tweak x Craig, South Park turned to their fanbase for help. Viewers were asked to submit their fan art of Tweak and Craig in the yaoi art style. Yaoi is fan fiction that centers around romantic relationships between male characters. Number 70. Of all the episodes in the series, there are only 2 episodes that the main boys don't appear in. Season 4's Pip and Season 10's A Million Little Fibers. Number 71. Kenny has died a total of 97 times in the show, over the course of 86 episodes. 98 if you count Rob Schneider as Kenny.
Rob Schneider is Kenny!
Number 72. While Matt Stone looks upon the show's earlier years more fondly, Trey Parker personally hates the first 3 seasons of the show, and could care less if they were spontaneously erased from time itself. Well, we are our own worst critics. Number 73. Of everything they've done in the show, Trey Parker's absolute favorite South Park story is the Imagination Land trilogy. Number 74. When Saddam Hussein was in prison, the US Marines guarding him played South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut for him several times, showing him the cartoon version of himself in the film. The soldiers sent Parker and Stone a signed picture of Saddam in captivity, enjoying their film. Matt Stone considers this a highlight of his career. Number 75. After the episode Free Hat, Parker and Stone received a letter from Steven Spielberg, who thanked the duo, claiming he had finally made it now that he was officially a celebrity villain on South Park. To this day, Parker and Stone still can't tell whether or not the letter was sarcastic and written from a place of anger or not. Number 76. Free Hat was made at a time when Steven Spielberg had publicly announced that he was going to digitally touch up scenes from Raiders of the Lost Ark, the way George Lucas had touched up the original Star Wars trilogy. According to a source at Lucasfilm, Spielberg abruptly changed his mind after Free Hat aired, implying that the episode may have what snapped Spielberg out of it. Number 77. According to Matt Stone, after the episode Super Best Friends aired, David Blaine's fans began asking him for his Blaintology book that South Park made fun of. David Blaine had to tell these fans that no such book actually existed. Number 78. South Park caused even more confusion about David Blaine's image when people began asking him why he always said twa at the end of his sentences, which he doesn't. Blaine called Stone and Parker to ask where they got the impression, and according to Trey Parker, it was mostly random, but originated from a friend he had in high school that was a heavy metal musician that frequently made a twa sound. Number 79. At the end of the episode 201, Kyle's speech was heavily censored by Comedy Central, as well as the image of the Islamic prophet Moahmed, due to the network's fear of terrorist threats. It wasn't until 4 years after the episode aired that the uncensored speech was leaked onto the internet, proving that the bleeps were not some sort of meta joke on the show's part. Ironically, Kyle's speech is about the dangers of letting terrorism censor comedy. Number 80. While many have merely dismissed the show as nothing more than endless profanities and toilet humor, South Park has actually been incorporated into a college curriculum. McDaniel College in Maryland offers a class in which professors screen South Park episodes for the students to break down and discuss the social issues covered throughout various episodes. Number 81. Cartman's cover of Lady Gaga's Poker Face is actually a playable song in the game Rock Band. It was added as a piece of downloadable content. Number 82. The episode Simpsons Did It came from Parker and Stone's frustrations of coming up with story ideas and finding out the Simpsons have already done it. In fact, in the episode The Wacky Molestation Adventure, Cartman was originally going to blot out the sun to get back at Stan and Kyle, and they worked all weekend on it, only to find out it was just like a Simpsons episode. Number 83. Several episodes focus on Kyle and his religion. Being the lone Jew has resulted in animosity between him and the anti-Semitic Cartman, which becomes stronger as the series progresses. Parker and Stone have compared this relationship to the one shared by Archie Bunker and Michael Stivic on the 70s sitcom All in the Family. Number 84. When developing Kyle's character, Parker recalled there being only one Jewish student in his hometown of Conifer, Colorado, and described her as being the token Jewish person. He described a moment where all the kids sang Christmas songs and she had to come out by herself and sing a Hanukkah song. Number 85. So, we all know Leopold Butterstotch, but how did he get his name? Parker and Stone actually got the name after calling the producer, Eric Stowe, Little Buddy for about 3 years, and eventually nicknaming him Butters. The character Butters' warm and caring personality is based on Stowe. Number 86. Butters is the only kid in South Park who normally doesn't use curse words or profanity. His happy-go-lucky persona has been described as resembling that of a typical 1950s sitcom child character. Number 87. Randy and Sharon Marsh's names are derived from Parker's parents' names. According to Parker, Randy is the dingbat in the entire show, but he also said that his own dad is a great father, adding, "I hold my father very dear, but that doesn't mean I'm not gonna rip on him." Number 88. In the season 1 DVD, Parker stated that Mr. Mackey was based on his school counselor, who, when he saw Parker in the halls during class, class would simply say, "Okay, Trey, get back to class now." Okay. Number 89. Parker and Stone said that they chose Kathy Lee Gifford for the episode Weight Gain 4000 completely at random, not based on any particular reason or distaste for her. Shortly after it aired, the tabloid The Globe hired Susan Johnson to film herself seducing Frank Gifford, Kathy Lee Gifford's husband, for a newspaper story. The incident was the first of what Parker and Stone called the South Park curse, in which something tragic or embarrassing happens to a celebrity shortly before or after they're featured on South Park. Number 90. In Weight Gain 4000, Gifford appears at a parade hidden inside a bulletproof glass bubble. The bubble was inspired by an appearance that Pope John Paul II made in the Pope-mobile during his trip to Denver, which Parker and Stone also attended. They thought the design of the Pope-mobile, which has a bulletproof booth built into the back of a modified truck, was hilarious. Number 91. While Cartman Gets an Anal Probe was created almost entirely with construction paper, Weight Gain 4000 was the first South Park episode made completely using computers. Number 92. There have been a slew of consultant writers for South Park, including comedians like Bill Hader, Kristen Schaal, Kenny Holtz, and Brad Neely. Number 93. SNL alum Bill Hader also produced many episodes, and even did some voice work, including the voice of the newsmen in the episode's sponsored content and Truth in Advertising. Number 94. In 2013, South Park opened with an entirely 3D opening credits scene. This was accompanied with new animation and gave the show a new third dimension for its opening. Number 95. Whatever happened to Mr. Derp? Yes, the fan favorite character Mr. Derp replaced Chef in some earlier episodes, but where's he been since? He debuted in season 3's The Succubus, but you can still see Mr. Derp make a cameo in some episodes, sometimes as part of crowds, and sometimes even in the kitchen saying something weird. He was even in the episode Timmy 2000 throwing lemonade at the Phil Collins show. Oh, Derp! Number 96. Speaking of missing characters, whatever happened to Mephisto? Well, according to the show's creators, he's not dead. In fact, he made a cameo in the Queef Free music video. Number 97. In the episode Guitar Queero, when Thad says, "I quit, I quit, I quit," he's referencing a scene from Tom Hanks' musical film, That Thing You Do. Number 98. Would you believe me if I told you the show was still using construction paper? Of course not, but it's pretty close. After the pilot episode, the construction paper used for the show was scanned and used for future episodes in the animation software Maya. They've used some of the same textures for 19 years. Number 99. Matt Stone used to voice Kyle without making any technical changes, but now he uses Pro Tools to add a childlike inflection to help make the voice sound more like a 4th grader's. Number 100. Parker and Stone worked with composer Robert Lopez on their musical The Book of Mormon. During the collaboration, the duo asked Lopez to come to their studio and create an episode with them and workshop ideas. Their collaboration led to the episode Broadway Brodown. Number 101. At the turn of the century, many shows and products used the year 2000 in their titles. To make fun of America being obsessed with 2000, Parker started putting the number in episode titles for a while. Some of them include Quintuplets 2000, The Tooth Fairy's Tats 2000, Cartman's Silly Hate Crime 2000, and Timmy 2000. Number 102. We all know the running gag of Kenny dying, but by now, Parker and Stone have pretty much abandoned the joke. So the last time we see Kenny die is in the episode Titties and Dragons, where Princess Kenny leaps from the top of the Sony building and falls to his death. Unfortunately, this time Stan and Kyle were not around to say, "Oh my god, you killed Kenny, you bastards!" Number 103. Another lesser known running gag on the show is an alien visitor that can be seen from time to time in the background or between frames of the show. Number 104. Kenny's death had an impact on pop culture. The character's death influenced Master P to write the song Kenny's Dead, which was featured on the Chef Aid album. Number 105. An introductory short precedes the episode Cartman Gets an Anal Probe. The short, called A Fireside Minute with Matt Stone and Trey Parker, shows Stone and Parker sitting in front of a fireplace with a dog named Old Scratch. Throughout the short, Old Scratch occasionally changes breeds. It's a different dog every time they cut to it. Bet you didn't notice that. Number 106. During the Guitar Hero and Rock Band craze, Rock Band added the song Timmy and the Lords of the Underworld to their official store for players to choose. Number 107. While his name is never revealed in the show, the lonely fat nerd in Make Love Not Warcraft is referred to as Noob's Poner in the episode script. He's an evil genius and merciless mastermind thriving on the chaos and misery of all mankind, all while wearing a red jacket and blue beanie. That's right, evil has a name, and it's Eric Cartman. This kid would gladly screw his friends over for a cheesy poof, but whether you love or hate this big-boned foul-mouthed fiend, we all know there's more than just a few messed up Cartman moments worth mentioning. What's up, guys? I'm JD with ChannelFrederator, and because Cartman is just a special kind of effed up character, and keep in mind, even Satan is on this show, it was hard to sum up his jerk moments with just one list. So, we've got 9 more effed up things Cartman's ever done. Let's get started. Number 9. Cartman puts a price on Kyle's life. The episode Cherokee Hair Tampons shows exactly how effed up Cartman can be, especially when it comes to messing with Kyle. I mean, these two really hate each other, guys. It's bad. In this season 4 episode, Kyle is dying due to kidney failure and needs a transplant. But the only person in South Park with a matching blood type is Cartman. So basically, rest in peace, Kyle, right? Because when Cartman is confronted about it and begged for mercy, Cartman literally dances and sings the word no. No soft blows here. Although Cartman does eventually agree agree to give a kidney to Kyle, but for the price of $10 million. Gee, thanks friend. We all know Kyle survives. But it takes a cunning trick to get Cartman to sign the release forms for the surgery. So, much to his discontent, Kyle's life is saved, but it definitely wasn't Cartman's first choice. What a buddy. Number 8. Cartman's totally effed up bet. This evil moment involves a contract, a leprechaun, and an epic tale that continues over 3 episodes. Of course, I'm talking about the deal Cartman makes over whether or not leprechauns exist in the Imagination Land trilogy in season 11. If you've seen the trilogy, you know how effed up this deal is. It's a little too effed up to say out loud. So instead, I'll just say it sucks for Kyle when Cartman actually proves that leprechauns do exist. In fact, the boys discover that all fantasy creatures exist in a place called Imagination Land, a magical world that gets overrun by terrorists during their visit. Luckily, the boys manage to escape, but Kyle is captured by the government just moments before settling his debt with Cartman. So, Cartman infiltrates the Pentagon to find Kyle. Now that's some crazy dedication. He follows Kyle into Imagination Land to settle their debt, but Kyle's had enough. He finally stands up to Cartman and tells him he's not going to go through with his sucky end of the bargain. So what does Cartman do? He uses his imagination to make Kyle's disgusting payment a reality, and he makes Kyle watch. Now that's evil and gross. Number 7. Casa Bonita Kidnapping. Casa Bonita is one of the best Mexican restaurants in all of Denver. In fact, they call it the Disneyland of Mexican restaurants, which is why it's one of Cartman's favorite places to go. And can you blame him? I want to go too, like right now. But in season 7, what Cartman does for a chance to go there is a whole new level of evil, because when Kyle announces he'll be celebrating his birthday at Casa Bonita without Cartman, it quickly becomes a federal case. Since Butters was invited to go instead, well, it's no surprise that he suddenly turns up missing. The entire town is in an uproar over his disappearance, but while the search parties are on the hunt for little Butters, Cartman has locked him away in an underground bomb shelter, just so he can take his place at the restaurant. Eventually, Butters is found living in the city dump a week later. He'd been completely convinced that the world had ended because of Cartman's evil scheme. He returns to a non-post-apocalyptic South Park, and Cartman is busted before Kyle's party even starts. So to recap, Cartman actually kidnaps another child just for a shot at some Mexican food and cool attractions. But to be honest, I'd even kill for a taco. Number 6. Gingivitis presentation. Spreading hate speech is just one of Cartman's usual routines. It's nothing new to the residents of South Park, so no one blinked an eye when suddenly ginger kids were his next target of interest. For a class assignment in season 9, Cartman uses a PowerPoint presentation about his version of gingivitis to slander the redhead kids, which causes the other kids in South Park to panic and bully the poor redheads in school. The boys decide to give Cartman the taste of his own medicine the only way they know how, by breaking into his house and transforming him into a redhead overnight. I mean, you can't really argue with that logic. Afterwards, the school kids shun Cartman, so to exact his revenge, he rallies all the redhead kids to stalk and kidnap the other kids in town. It's definitely something out of a Stephen King novel, and it's friggin' scary. Cartman plans to exterminate all non-redheaded kids by throwing them into a pit of lava. But just as the murderous rampage begins, Kyle whispers the truth about the prank into Cartman's ear, leaving him with the realization that the joke is on him. So, like with most of his evil plans, everything falls through at the last minute. But this episode definitely makes the list because it left us with a ton of effed up ginger jokes, which is why my redheaded friends hate this episode. Number 5. Cartman almost destroys humanity. Another classic makes our list with his all-time favorite moment from season 4's Trapper Keeper episode. When Kyle gets a brand new Dawson's Creek Trapper Keeper for school, he's happy. And apparently that's not okay with Cartman, because immediately he upstages Kyle with the very best Trapper Keeper money can buy, which is, of course, also Dawson's Creek. Otherwise, the evil deed wouldn't be complete. Well, a cyborg from the future shows up, claiming that he was sent back in time to destroy the Trapper Keeper because it eventually takes over the planet. Just a normal day in South Park. So you'd think that Cartman might just hand it over, right? Of course not. This is Eric Cartman we're talking about. Why would he give up an awesome Trapper Keeper to save mankind? Instead, he does the exact opposite and merges with the Trapper Keeper to form this giant evil blob that starts attacking the town and eating people, including Rosie O'Donnell. Another super selfish deed by the one and only evil monster, Cartman. And, as always, he's defeated. After ingesting Rosie O'Donnell makes him sick, Kyle is freed so he can disconnect the Trapper Keeper, and all goes back to normal in South Park, until Cartman's next evil deed. Number 4. Crack Baby Basketball. This is hands down one of the most evil and effed up get-rich schemes Cartman has ever accomplished. And I'm talking about his business plan for the Crack Baby Athletic Association. You know the one. When Cartman starts volunteering his time down at the Crack Baby ward at the hospital, we already know it's too good to be true. And it is. We find out that he's going there to film these poor addicted infants to fight over a ball full of crack. He posts the videos online under the name Crack Baby Basketball, and it gets so popular that he starts generating crazy amounts of cash. He also insists that the business is a non-profit organization, so that none of the money goes to the crack babies. To make matters worse, he starts recruiting new players, or slaves as he calls them, by offering the mothers crack rock for a contract. That's some mighty strong exploitation. As evil as his plan is, Cartman does take a lesson in scheming on this one. Sorta. When he makes a video game deal with EA Sports, he doesn't realize he's signing over the rights of the company, and he ends up being left with nothing to show for it. Tough luck, Cartman. You're evil, and apparently so is EA Sports, at least in South Park's version. Number 3. Adolf Cartman. If there's one thing you should know about Cartman, it's that you should never admit he's right. It'll only fuel his evil power. There was only one time Kyle admitted that he was right, in the episode The Passion of the Jew, and it caused Cartman to go full-blown Hitler. It was really only a matter of time, considering how often Cartman puts down Jews. In fact, the word Jew is almost said in every time Cartman and Kyle get together. But when Kyle admits the Passion of the Christ had an emotional impact on him, just as Cartman said it would, Cartman's prejudice goes to a whole new level. He suddenly takes it upon himself to help spread Mel Gibson's message, which apparently he interprets as completely anti-Semitic. He starts spreading hate speech to the people of South Park, again. But once his following is established, it takes nothing short of Mel Gibson himself to stop Cartman in his genocidal pursuit. The townspeople give up once they see exactly how insane Mel Gibson has become over the years, and they decide to just respect each other's beliefs. That's when Mel sharts all over Cartman's face. So, as it turns out, there's a happy ending to this after all. A gross one. It's South Park. Number 2. Cartman kills hundreds of hippies. It's no secret that Cartman hates hippies. They're often his #1 target for hate crimes. And over the years, we've seen Cartman do some pretty evil things to hippies just for the heck of it. And this one takes the cake. In Die Hippie Die, when more and more hippies start congregating in South Park, Cartman warns about the possibility of an upcoming music festival, the size of which would completely overwhelm the town. Obviously, he's laughed at and ignored. Shortly after, he gets arrested for keeping 63 hippies locked in his basement, which on its own is very Silence of the Lambs effed up, and definitely not normal. However, this is one of the few instances where Cartman is actually right, because hippies do consume the town, leaving the people of South Park to beg for his help. So, Cartman assembles a team to infiltrate the music festival in a machine he designed called the Hippie Digger, which tunnels through the massive crowd of people, literally tunnels through them, as in a bunch of people get run over and drilled through. It's basically a giant murder machine. The machine carries them through the crowd to the main stage, where they blast some death metal music that chases the hippies out of town. So, in a weird way, Cartman kind of saves the day, but he still killed hundreds of people in the process, and feels not an ounce of remorse about it. Stone cold hearted. Number 1. Cartman and Cthulhu. So this one has to top the list, because while on a superhero kick, Cartman literally manipulates the Dark Lord Cthulhu into doing his evil bidding. Together, the two wreak havoc on the country in pursuit of making the world a better place, despite thousands of people dying along the way. In Mysterion Rises, Cartman, or the Coon I should say, uses his adorable kitten manipulation tactic on Cthulhu to persuade the Dark Lord into getting revenge on his group of super friends, Coon and Friends, who kicked him off the team but decided to keep his name. Oh, and they totally still use his basement as their headquarters too. That's the ultimate middle finger. With Cthulhu's help, he hunts down his friends and banishes them to a hell-like dimension, all over a game of superheroes. Man, you really don't want to get on his bad side. Afterwards, Cartman continues to rid the world of evil, by which I mean kills hippies and Justin Bieber for no reason. If that isn't evil, I don't know what is. Sadly, there's a lot more moments we could have added to the list, but we'll stop here for our stomach's sake.
The host, JD Rowe, was busy that month. Legend. Cartman really has done it all, and we noticed. This next video, 107 Cartman Facts You Should Know, takes a deep dive into the mind of a madman, Eric Cartman. I'm surprised nobody went crazy while doing this one. It kind of feels like doing a deep dive research project about a serial killer. Some things are just too intense for the delicate mind of an average individual. Good thing our team is as tough as nails. This one was released in May of 2017 with Joey Graff as the host. Let's jump right in.
Respect my authority. If you thought Bart Simpson was a bad boy, then you probably lost your mind when you met Cartman. Hey guys, I'm Joe, and we're here to check out everyone's favorite big-boned resident of South Park, and how he won hearts all around the world with his offensive and hilarious antics. He'll do whatever it takes to get what he wants, whether it's theft, blackmail, or a wacky business scheme.
You.
So get ready for 107 facts about Cartman. Let's get started. Cartman's full name is Eric Theodore Cartman. His birthday is on July 1st, which is technically Canada Day. It's pretty funny considering that the movie features a song called Blame Canada. So, blame Cartman? Cartman lives in his mother's home, located at 93345 Avenue de los Mexicanos, South Park, Colorado. However, his backpack states that his address is 2120 East Bonanza Circle, South Park, Colorado. Maybe it was done so his enemies can't stalk him. Cartman made his first appearance in the short film The Spirit of Christmas, Jesus vs. Frosty, in 1992. In this short, Cartman is murdered by an evil tentacled Frosty the Snowman. When he's killed, one of the other boys exclaims,
"Oh my God! Frosty killed Kitty!" Hey!
Cartman showed up again in the second iteration of The Spirit of Christmas, Jesus vs. Santa, in 1995. In this short, all of the characters, including Cartman, are much closer to their eventual final versions. Cartman made his first TV appearance in the pilot episode of South Park titled Cartman Gets an Anal Probe. The pilot episode was too long, so some scenes had to be taken out. In the original version, Cartman farted fire because he was fed hot tamales. In this edited version, the cause of his fire farts was due to being anally probed by aliens, like the title suggests. The scene introducing Cartman was also cut out of the pilot. That scene was later put into season 1's 5th episode, An Elephant Makes Love to a Pig. By then, the show had already made the transition from stop motion via construction paper cutouts to digital animation, meaning this one scene is in the original format while the rest of the episode is digital. If Cartman had stayed on the same path that he was put on in the first episode, then the show would be a lot different. Co-creator Trey Parker said he was originally always going to be the kid with satellite dishes coming out of his butt. Cartman was partially inspired and named after co-creator Matt Stone's high school classmate, Matt Karpman. Cartman initially started out as that fat kid that everyone picked on. Clearly, he went on to evolve into someone more diabolical, who picks on everyone else. While developing Cartman, Parker noticed that everyone either remembers an annoying fat kid from their childhood, or that they can identify with having been the annoying fat kid.
I'm not fat. I'm big boned.
Cartman is voiced by South Park co-creator, writer, and director Trey Parker. Of all the South Park characters, Cartman is Parker's favorite.
I'm sorry, Mama.
In the early days of South Park, the four main boys didn't have very distinct personalities. According to the creators, Cartman was one of the first characters to really carve out a distinct identity. Within the first season, the creators realized that Cartman was similar to Archie Bunker from All in the Family. The creators were big fans of the 1970s sitcom and watched reruns of the show to get a better grip on Cartman's character. Stone credits producer Norman Lear for the creation of South Park because Lear fought so hard for All in the Family and his other shows. Part of the appeal of Cartman was that as an 8-year-old, he could do anything he wanted. The audience accepts that he doesn't really know what he's doing because of his young age, even if that thing is dressing up like Hitler. We forgive him because he's reacting to his environment. Cartman and his friends have such foul mouths because the creators believe that's how little boys act when they are completely left alone. They don't really have much of a filter.
Butthole! Titties! Bowels!
Speaking of which, Cartman's favorite curse word is tampon. He knows it's not as hardcore as the other curse words he uses, but he still thinks that it's really funny.
Blood-drenched frozen tampon popsicle!
Cartman and the gang were in 3rd grade during seasons 1, 2, and 3. They finally went to 4th grade at the start of season 4 and have been there ever since. Cartman isn't the biggest fan of his gang of friends. He thinks that they all suck ass and aren't all that great.
Me not. You guys, nah. Screw you guys, I'm going home.
Cartman was the first of the boys to be seen without a hat on. This was in Season 2's episode, Merry Christmas, Charlie Manson. In that same episode, we see Cartman visit his extended family. His family looks and acts much like he does, so we can clearly see that he takes after his mom's side and not his father's.
Amen.
Cartman's mother was based on the idea of parents who were trying too hard to be their kids' friends instead of being their parent. It's this kind of parenting that the creators claim makes kids really evil. Cartman's mother came close to taming him by recruiting the help of Caesar Milan, aka the Dog Whisperer. At first, she's able to follow the Dog Whisperer's advice to become the dominant animal of the house, so to speak. But she crumbles because in the end, she just wants to be Cartman's friend. Cartman's mom was once on the cover of Crack Whore magazine. Cartman truly believes it's because she needed the money and ignores his friend's exclamations. In the Season 2 episode, Cartman's mom is still a dirty slut. It's stated that his mom is a hermaphrodite. According to the show's logic, she impregnated a woman with an unknown identity who then gave birth to Cartman. In a 2005 interview, Matt Stone was asked if we would ever know who Cartman's real father was. He joked that it might be Oprah or Will Ferrell. Can you imagine? 12 years later, in season 14, the truth finally came out. The revelation about Cartman's mom being a hermaphrodite was a lie created as a conspiracy to protect the reputation of the Denver Broncos. Cartman's mother was impregnated by a Denver Broncos player, Jack Tenorman, meaning Scott Tenorman is Cartman's older half-brother. In an unaired pilot, Cartman actually had a father and sister living with him at home. The characters don't speak and only appear for a few seconds. He has a pet cat named Mr. Kitty, but it's not clear if Mr. Kitty is female or male. The creators explained this by stating that Mr. Kitty is probably a hermaphrodite. Runs in the family? Or is the kitty part of the conspiracy as well? Cartman has more than one pet. In addition to his cat, he has a pot-bellied pig named Fluffy. Parker and Stone's favorite episodes are the ones when Cartman messes around with Butters.
Hey, I gotta put in my suppository. Can you help me?
What?
Parker sees Cartman as the dark side of everyone. He feels that everyone has a piece of Cartman inside themselves, and even needs a little bit of him in their life here and there. So what bad things has Cartman done? How about we start off with Oh yeah, Cartman once started a hippie extermination service. He was thrown in jail for illegally holding hippies prisoner in his basement before the town's hippie infestation forced the townspeople to look to Cartman for help. In the episode Obama Wins, Cartman rigs the 2012 election of Barack Obama versus Mitt Romney. He goes to swing states and steals ballots as part of a conspiracy orchestrated by the Chinese, who are promised the rights to Star Wars by Obama if he secures the presidency. And Cartman demands that the Chinese give him a role in Star Wars for his part in rigging the election. In the episode Ginger Kids, Cartman learns what it's like to be ginger. Kyle and Stan dye his hair red, bleach his skin, and draw freckles on his face. This leads Cartman to form the Ginger Separatist movement, which seeks to kill all non-gingers in a pool of lava. This was technically payback, since Cartman originally started a campaign against redheads. We claimed our solace in evil, and unfortunately, it seemed as though somebody agreed. In 2008, Canada's RCMP investigated a Facebook group called National Kick a Ginger Day. Are you going to do it? Over concerns of real-life bullying and assault. The Facebook group was inspired by Cartman's anti-ginger plot. Come on, guys. Cartman is clearly someone whose footsteps nobody should ever follow. Ever. He is a terrible person. Remember how Cartman became HIV positive in an episode? Well, he then purposefully gave the virus to Kyle. Luckily, the two were both able to be cured. Cartman and Kyle sought out Magic Johnson to find the cure. In the episode Weight Gain 4000, Cartman won the school's Save Our Fragile Planet essay contest. How did he do it? By writing his name on a copy of Henry David Thoreau's Walden. Once, Cartman started up a business that forced crack-addicted babies to fight over crack cocaine for people's entertainment. To justify his actions, he tried to compare the babies' likenesses to real-life controversies around business deals between college athletics and the games publisher EA. Since he was 2 years old, Cartman had always wanted to have $1 million. He finally gets his dream in the season 5 episode Cartman Land. Eventually, Cartman gets bigger goals. It's no longer $1 million anymore, it's now $10 million. Cartman loves money, way more than he loves his friends. In Cherokee hair tampons, Kyle desperately needs a kidney transplant, and Cartman is the only one who is a match. Cartman refuses to give him the transplant unless he gets paid $10 million. In the end, Cartman is tricked into giving the kidney away without getting paid. But that's not all he's done for money. Cartman once pretended to be disabled in order to compete in the Special Olympics and win the $1,000 prize. While he didn't win, he still got the Spirit Award and a gift voucher. Cartman also lobbied Congress to decriminalize stem cell research. This was done under the guise of saving Kenny's life, but the true reason was that so Cartman could make money off of some dead fetuses he found. Cartman even founded his own church to scam parishioners out of their money. This was one of his many plots to get that $10 million. In Christian Rock Hard, Cartman starts a Christian rock band to win a bet against Kyle to see who can make a platinum album first. He makes the band Faith Plus One successful by plagiarizing love songs and replacing the word baby with Jesus. After watching Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ, Cartman believes that the film is a call to arms against Jews. In this episode, he dresses as Hitler, forms a mob, and marches through the streets chanting an anti-Semitic war cry in German. Cartman's followers don't stick around though, because they mistakenly thought that his campaign was for a resurgence of Christianity. Cartman is taken down another peg when Mel Gibson poops on his face. Funny enough, in the episode Chupacabra, it's revealed that Cartman converted to Judaism after having a vivid hallucinogenic dream. When asked about the worst thing Cartman has ever done, Parker said that it was probably the time when he tricked Scott Tenorman into eating chili made of the remains of his own dead parents. Yeah, that's pretty bad. What made Cartman go so far? He wanted to get revenge on Scott for a series of humiliating stunts, including tricking Cartman into buying a bag of pubic hairs from him. This means that in his act of revenge against Scott, Cartman killed his own father and fed him to his own half-brother. Of course, he didn't know that until the revelation in episode 201 during season 14. After realizing that he killed his own father, Cartman feels bad about himself, not because he killed his birth parent, but because he realizes that he's half ginger. There was some serious debate as to whether Cartman's plan and Scott Tenorman must die went too far. The creators thought it was funny, but they felt that going through with the scene would be setting a new bar for the character. In the end, the crew decided to go through with the plot. However, they agreed that they couldn't have Cartman actually commit murder. This is why Cartman doesn't murder Scott Tenorman's parents himself. He merely creates an elaborate plan that resulted in them being murdered by someone else. The episode was divisive amongst fans. According to Stone, some thought it was hilarious while others felt it went too far, even for Cartman. But Cartman has killed for lesser things before. When Kenny gets in an accident and is put on life support, Cartman arranges to have the plug pulled. Why? Because Kenny left Cartman his PSP in his will. duh. That said, Cartman has saved Kyle's life 4 times, so maybe he's not all that bad. The first time was when he saved him from a planetarium. The second time he was tricked into giving Kyle his kidney. The third time was in San Francisco when he saves Kyle and his family from a smog storm. And the fourth, final time was when he brings Kyle back to life after Man-Bear Pig attacks him. Cartman's been arrested 6 times, which is surprisingly low for all the crazy messed up things he's done. In the episode Spooky Fish, we can see Cartman's alternate self from another reality. This evil Eric is nice and selfless, and has the classic goatee. Cartman also met his future self. After an enterprise that involved painting houses with poop for revenge, Cartman contemplates taking better care of himself and working harder. Future Cartman appears to tell him that this is the point in time his life turns around, but Cartman rejects the future Cartman and vows to overeat and do drugs, morphing the future Cartman into a fat plumber. In the episode The Sissy, Cartman pretends to be transgender and changes his name to Erica in order to get a special bathroom all to himself. Shenanigans ensue, and by the end of the episode, the school decides that anyone can use any bathroom that they feel the most comfortable in, with one exception. If anyone is uncomfortable with the fact that anyone can use any bathroom, there's a special private bathroom for them, and you know that that one belongs all to Eric. Like many little boys, Cartman dreams of being a pirate. He fulfills his dream by going to Somalia's capital with the other boys and becomes a pirate captain known as Fatbeard. At one point, when the boys made up their own anime ninja persona, Cartman chose the name Bullrog. He claimed that he's a tough ninja who fights against hippies with his powerful sai. During another instance, Cartman took on the persona of Mr. Cartmanas to teach inner city youth how to cheat. Mr. Cartmanas is a parody of Jamie Escalante from the 1988 movie Stand and Deliver.
How do I reach these gates?
Another one of Cartman's many personas was Dog the Hall Monitor. This identity is a parody of Dog the Bounty Hunter. Cartman has a superhero alter ego named the Coon. The Coon parodies dark superhero stories such as the Christopher Nolan Batman films. Cartman later returns to his superhero persona to team up with Cthulhu. Together they team up to attack synagogues, Burning Man, San Francisco, and Justin Bieber. In 2008, Cartman gave a short interview in his own voice with Julie Rovner of NPR. Yes, the real NPR. After the interviewer asked Cartman what he wanted to be when he grows up, he bluntly answered that he definitely doesn't want to become an interviewer. Ouch. When asked what he would like to hear from God if he went to heaven, Cartman said, "Eric, all of this is yours. I'm done. You're in charge now." Cartman actually speaks 3 languages: Spanish, German, and of course English. Even though Cartman thinks it might be egotastical, that's the pronunciation he used, he considers himself his own hero. Why? Because everything about him is just so cool. His least favorite words are no, don't, and ecosystem. Wait, what does he have against the ecosystem? His motto is shut up, stupid, I hate you. Words to live by? When asked what his favorite sound was, Cartman said that it was the sound of people he doesn't like crying, whereas the sound he likes least is babies laughing. Wonder if he likes babies crying. When Cartman grows up, he wants to eat stuff and play whatever the best Xbox is for a living. He doesn't think he'll have to earn money to buy the Xbox because his mom will get it for him. Cartman's idea of happiness is nobody being on Earth but him. He said if he was in Will Smith's situation in I Am Legend, he would be extremely content with it. Cartman claims that his favorite color is Caucasian. He likes Asian too, but not as much. Don't take him for a racist though, because he claims he's fine with black people. Cartman's cholesterol level is that of the 70-year-old man. We learn this in the episode 1%, when his bad health puts the school at the lowest ranking on the presidential fitness test. Cartman originally weighed 90 pounds when he was 8 in the 3rd grade. However, his current weight is unknown. Considering how much he eats, it's probably now a lot more than that, even though he looks the same visually. Cartoons, you know? In order to get out of wearing glasses, Cartman goes to the extreme to correct his vision. After laser corrective surgery goes wrong, Cartman decides to get a transplant, using Kenny's eyes after a succubus killed his friend. Thus, Cartman's eyes are actually that of a dead Kenny. Cartman seems to be one of the only children who is completely aware of Kenny's multiple deaths, but doesn't really let them bother him. We know this because in Cartman Land, Kenny's family tries to sue Cartman for Kenny's wrongful death, but Cartman states that Kenny dies all the time. Yuri on Ice featured a South Park reference to Cartman. In Jean-Jacques, J.J. Leroy's childhood flashback, J.J. wears Cartman's iconic outfit. Bonus fact, South Park also referenced Yuri on Ice in a shot looking through Ike's search history. Nice to see shows acknowledge each other across the world. In an episode of the Powerpuff Girls, Blossom can be seen in Cartman's outfit after stumbling into the iconic coat, hat, and mittens while chasing a real imaginary friend into the clothing rack. Cartman and his friends show up in The Simpsons when Bart and Milhouse watch South Park. Milhouse feels a bit disillusioned by the fact that South Park kids are voiced by adults. In reality, Milhouse is not only voiced by an adult, but by an adult woman. Pamela Hayden. In the Futurama movie, Bender's Big Score, Cartman's head, hat and all, is preserved inside of a jar among many others. Cartman's favorite snack is Cheesy Poofs. In 2011, Frito-Lay partnered with South Park to sell Cheesy Poofs in real life. Why couldn't they keep existing? The show released a compilation of Cartman-centric episodes made up of 2 discs called South Park, The Cult of Cartman. Not only is there a DVD introduction, there are also episode introductions, all made by Eric Cartman himself. In 2000, the MTV Movie Awards included a South Park segment, which Stone and Parker created to parody Gladiator and Battlefield Earth. In it, the South Park boys are pitted against gladiators, only for Cartman to soil himself in fear.
Oh, you guys, I crapped my pants!
Believe it or not, Cartman is featured on the South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut soundtrack. On it, he sings the musical numbers that he performs with his friends in the movie. In South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, Cartman has a V-chip implanted into his head that shocks him whenever he curses, which is a lot. It's then recircuited so that every time he curses, he can use a bolt of lightning as a weapon. The band Rush commissioned an intro short for their 2007 Snakes and Arrows tour featuring Cartman and the other South Park boys. The boys form a Rush cover band playing Tom Sawyer, with Cartman wearing a wig to look like Rush singer Geddy Lee. Cartman sings his own version of Tom Sawyer, in which he gets the lyrics wrong and confuses Tom Sawyer with Huckleberry Finn. In 1999, National Westminster Bank did a poll among 8 and 9-year-olds to see who was their favorite celebrity personality. Cartman came in at number 1, beating Bart Simpson, who got 2nd place. Cartman and the boys make an appearance in the 2005 documentary, The Aristocrats. In the clip, Cartman tells a really long joke called The Aristocrats, in extremely graphic detail. How graphic, you might ask? Well, you're just gonna have to watch it for yourself to find out.
And the father says, the aristocrats.
In 2002, Cartman was featured in promos for the NHL team the Los Angeles Kings. The promos played live at hockey games and had Cartman interacting with, well, assaulting the other team's mascots. Cartman also introduced the starting lineup for the University of Colorado's football team during a 2007 game between them and the University of Nebraska.
Cody Hawkins is the quarterback, because he's the coach's son, so he can do whatever he wants.
Cartman is a playable character in the RPG South Park The Stick of Truth. He takes the player character, New Kid, under his wing and introduces you to the game. In The Stick of Truth, the Kingdom of Koopa Keep is located in Cartman's backyard, and Cartman is the Grand Wizard. In the episode Black Friday, Cartman pokes fun at how long it took to develop The Stick of Truth. He tells Kyle not to pre-order a game.
When you pre-order a game, you're just committing to paying for something that some assholes in California haven't even finished working on yet.
And I'm still waiting for The Fractured But Whole. If you can't get enough of Cartman from the episodes, a rendition of Lady Gaga's Poker Face with Cartman singing lead vocals was released in the Rock Band Music Store in 2010. Stone says that when it comes to bad impressions of Cartman, it's not so much the voice that people get wrong, it's the bad acting that make the impressions fall apart. Cartman's particular way of saying hey was introduced in the 2002 edition of the Oxford Dictionary of Catchphrases. So I guess hey now counts as a catchphrase? Stone feels that it's a total honor that Cartman is considered as iconic as Homer Simpson and Archie Bunker are in the animation world. We'd say that's a pretty high achievement. By the way, in case you haven't seen it, Cartman has a tiny penis, even for his age. How small? It's 1.4 inches. You are welcome.
South Park has never been a stranger to controversy, and as such was often censored. Folks picked up on that, and now there are tales and legends about times when Matt Stone and Trey Parker's show got hit with the censorship stick. Thankfully, in July of 2017, the ChannelFrederator team put together a list of 8 South Park episodes banned and censored from TV.
No one could have ever guessed that an offbeat animation about 4 rude, crude little dudes would eventually become a pillar of success for the Comedy Central. But here they are, 20 years later, still bringing laughter, cheesy poofs, and swear words. What's going on, guys? I'm Justin with ChannelFrederator, and today we're taking a look at some of the best examples of censorship throughout the history of South Park, the show whose very claim to fame is controversy. So come on down and have yourself a time. This is 8 censored moments in South Park. Number 1. The Pinewood Derby. In 2009, MTV created a huge controversy over a last-minute decision to pull the South Park episode titled Pinewood Derby from their Latin American channel, broadcasting in Mexico. Immediately, fans questioned the nature of this decision, wondering if Mexico's government was to blame for the censored contents. For those of you who haven't seen the episode, several of the world leaders are depicted, including Mexico's president, Felipe Calderón, as they attempt to deal with an international crisis of intergalactic proportions. Of course, this is South Park, so spoiler alert, they fail miserably. The episode doesn't make the best statement about mankind, and that includes a rather shady depiction of our world leaders as well. who end up taking bribes of space money and spending it rather frivolously. So when the episode was pulled just a few hours before airing on MTV Mexico, people started wondering about their reasoning behind it. The official story reports that the permits required to broadcast an image of the Mexican flag had not arrived in time, and so rather than blur the image in the episode, MTV felt it would be better to wait until they received the proper paperwork because, it turns out there are some pretty big fines for broadcasting the Mexican flag without permission. It wasn't until several months later that Mexico's Ministry of the Interior granted the network approval to air the episode. Number 2. Proper condom use. As if teaching sex ed in public school wasn't painfully awkward enough, Matt and Trey took it to the next level in proper condom use, a cringeworthy episode featuring the wonders of puberty, which was alongside an even worse portrayal of middle-aged teachers tackling the subject. The episode was so revolting that several countries chose to censor it however they saw fit. Australia broadcast the episode a full half-hour later than the usual time slot. The British channel Sky One banned the episode completely because of violence combined with strong sexual content, and it's one of the few episodes not syndicated within the US, although it still airs on Comedy Central. Surprisingly enough, only one scene was censored to meet network standards, despite such strong reactions towards the episode as a whole. The horrific scene where Mr. Garrison demonstrates how to apply a condom using only his mouth was significantly altered. As you can probably tell by the sound of it, there's no question as to why this scene was edited for broadcasting, although the full scene actually did air on Comedy Central once before it was then changed to display the children's reactions rather than the full event. Scarring. Number 3. Sponsored content. Season 19 was heavily focused on the 2016 election, featuring Mr. Garrison as the show's representation of Donald Trump. Since politics are already a hot-button issue for the public, especially the 2016 election in particular, the season was bound to ruffle a few feathers, as was the intent. Still though, minus a few obscenities, the whole season managed to air with considerably low criticism regarding offensive material, which is something like an A+ by South Park standards. Unfortunately, censorship eventually worked its way into the season, but the controversy wasn't within the US, it was in the Netherlands. Due to the terrorist attacks in Paris around the time of its debut, the South Park Netherlands network decided to edit the scene where Mr. Garrison talks about dealing with the Syrian refugees. They simply cut out his response, which was to f them all to death, and switched over to the next scene instead. When fans tweeted the network asking why the scene had been censored, Comedy Central responded with a meme of PC Principal claiming that, quote, it just wasn't PC enough, end quote. So while it must have been a tough call for the network, it's good to know that they still have a sense of humor about it because, we can't forget this is South Park. Number 4. Closet Gate. The episode Trapped in the Closet proved itself to be an Emmy-nominated hit for the franchise. It's now dubbed a classic among South Park fans, but it was almost completely removed from syndication in 2006. Once the rebroadcast of the episode had been cancelled without notice, a huge controversy broke out which was eventually dubbed Closetgate by the Los Angeles Times. According to Matt Stone, the decision came from Comedy Central's parent company, Viacom, and their issue was over the rather zany portrayal of Tom Cruise in the episode. If you haven't seen the episode, Tom Cruise locks himself in Stan's closet once Stan is dubbed the reincarnation of L. Ron Hubbard by the Church of Scientology, at which one point the entire town begs Tom to just come out of the closet. The implication was beyond blatant here, and because Viacom also owns Paramount Pictures, the studio behind the Mission Impossible franchise, a controversy stirred. Tom Cruise was on a publicity tour for the release of the third Mission Impossible film when the Trapped in the Closet episode first premiered on Comedy Central. Supposedly, Tom threatened to boycott the tour unless the episode was pulled off air. In response, Matt and Trey threatened to terminate their relationship with the network unless the episode was rebroadcast. Ugh, yikes. Needless to say, the episode was rebroadcast a few months later, and Comedy Central denies allegations that Tom Cruise specifically was the reason behind the cancellation, and when the actor himself was questioned about it, he simply stated he would not dignify such rumors with a personal statement. But what do you guys think? Number 5. Bloody Mary. Ironically, this episode aired the night before the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, a recognized Catholic holiday, so naturally there was some backlash over the rather offensive depiction of the Virgin Mary bleeding out of her backside. But, it was much larger than expected. The Catholic League of Religious and Civil Rights immediately demanded an apology and that Comedy Central remove the episode from broadcast and DVD release. And to make matters worse, a Viacom board member member by the name of Joseph A. Califano Jr. was a practicing Catholic at the time. He joined an effort to ban the episode and successfully removed Bloody Mary from rebroadcast. However, that episode eventually returned to TV the following year in 2006. That same year, Bloody Mary was scheduled to air on New Zealand's C4 network, but was boycotted by the New Zealand Catholic Bishops' Conference. Prime Minister Helen Clark had issued an official statement claiming that the episode was allowed to air on the network, but it was still met with some pretty heavy resistance. Advertisers withdrew from the network, and there was a boycott of C4 affiliates. There was even a court order to stop the broadcast from a company similarly named C4 Productions, on the grounds that it may result in a negative impact on their company. Needless to say, things blew up. Because, sorry. Of course, the courts ruled against the order, but the entire situation had become a media frenzy. Once word got out that there was outrage over the episode, the Australian network SBS pulled Bloody Mary from its scheduled broadcast, claiming that they'd rather dodge any bad publicity from the worldwide controversy, which they did by a long shot. The episode didn't air on the SBS network until a full decade later. Number 6. Super Best Friends. One of the most amazing feats that the series has managed to accomplish was the somewhat successful depiction of the Muslim prophet Mohammed in the 2001 episode Super Best Friends. We use the term somewhat successful because at the time, the episode was able to air with very little to no controversy, but unfortunately, that's no longer the case. The episode was later pulled in 2006 due to the concerns of public safety. The episode depicted several religious figures, including Muhammad, which were drawn in a Super Friends style parody as they combat a nationwide crisis, a brainwashing cult created by David Blaine called Blaineology, which, as you might have guessed, is also poking fun at Scientology. For those who don't know, the drawing of Muhammad is extremely taboo in the Muslim community. No matter how he's depicted, it's a big no-no. In 2006, more than 200 people died over Muhammad cartoons that were published in a Danish newspaper, along with international protesting, boycotting, attempted murder of the people involved, and even full-fledged terrorist attacks. According to Denmark's Prime Minister, it was the worst thing to happen to their country ever since the Second World War. Artists and publications from around the world responded by republishing the cartoons, claiming their right to freedom of speech, the result of which only led to more death threats. As a result, Comedy Central completely erased Super Best Friends from broadcast, syndication, online streaming, and DVD release in an attempt to remain on the safe side of the controversy. Screen-capped images can still be found online, most of which have black boxes covering the image of Muhammad as a safety protocol. Number 7. Cartoon Wars. Matt and Trey commented on the international crisis caused by the Muhammad cartoon in the two-part episode Cartoon Wars. The episode also served as a personal insult to the writers of the show Family Guy, whom Matt and Trey have often expressed their distaste towards for various personal reasons. Originally, this episode was scheduled to kick off the 10th season, but Comedy Central postponed the episode's schedule date due to the terrorist attacks that were happening around that time. There was so much reluctance over the airing of the episode that Matt and Trey decided to include the resistance they faced from the network into the plot, and it mimicked the entire ordeal beautifully. In the episode, when Fox announces that Family Guy will be airing an image of the Islamic Prophet, citizens of South Park panic over the news, fearing that it will result in a terrorist attack. So Kyle and Cartman set out to prevent the episode from airing, but an uncensored version is broadcast anyway. Now, in reality, an actual image of Muhammad was planned to air in the episode, but the network decided to pull the scene completely and replace it with a black slate reading Comedy Central has refused to broadcast an image of Muhammad on their network. Despite disapproval from the creators and fans alike, Comedy Central and Viacom both claim it was simply a matter of public safety. Number 8. 200 and 201. This isn't the first time this dual episode landed itself on one of our lists. You may remember it from our 6 banned episodes of Cartoons video. It's been dubbed the most controversial 2-part episode in the history of South Park. Outright banned in several countries, including Sri Lanka, which banned the entire series solely for its obnoxious portrayal of Buddha within the episode.
Buddha, don't do coke in front of kids!
The series' 200th and 201st editions, named accordingly, debuted during the 14th season and are highly recognized for 2 reasons. They were nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award back in 2010, and they resulted in personal death threats. The latter are terrifying, unless you're like afraid of getting awards. To celebrate their 200th milestone, Matt and Trey were dead set on revisiting previous controversies, including a third attempt at depicting the Prophet Moahmed. It had been a solid 4 years since the international crisis, but when a group of extremists caught wind of the episode, they posted a direct threat online regarding the possible repercussions of the scheduled broadcast. And to really drive their point home, they posted the addresses to Matt and Trey's offices in Los Angeles and New York. That's when Comedy Central went frantic. Hastily, the network completely blacked out all images of the Islamic prophet, along with censoring any mention of his name, and they removed Kyle's conclusive "I've learned something" speech. Both episodes were removed from broadcast, removed from syndication, and removed from online streaming. The DVD release features only the censored versions, except for some countries such as Denmark, Australia, and the UK, which have removed both episodes from their releases altogether. And so far, any attempts to post the uncensored versions online have been met with immediate dismissal, making this one instance of censorship that just keeps on censoring.
I wonder if we could add any new episodes that have gone to air or not gone to air since then. Our boy Justin Washburn makes a comeback in the next South Park video, with a focus on Satan just in time for Halloween. 107 South Park The Movie facts you should know.
When South Park debuted, it both changed and challenged the boundaries of network television with its envelope-pushing sense of humor. Not even 2 years later, creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone set out to do the very same for featured films, proving that animated movies could be more than the happy-go-lucky Disney films that dominated the genre. And we're here to check out just how they did that. Hey everyone, I'm Justin with ChannelFrederator, and today we're going to take a look back at 107 facts about the South Park movie, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut centers around Stan, Kyle, Cartman, and Kenny going to see the new R-rated Terrence and Phillip movie, Asses of Fire, which expands their vocabulary in a way that ignites the fury of Kyle's mom. She begins a war against Terrence and Phillip's home country, Canada, for soiling the minds of America's youth. The central theme behind Bigger, Longer, and Uncut is the danger of censorship and the importance of free speech. It's also self-reflective of the reception that the show had received at that point in time, both positive and negative. The film was directed and co-written by series co-creator Trey Parker, though his most notable success at the time was the South Park TV series. The film Bigger, Longer, and Uncut wasn't his first time in the director's chair, having created the films Cannibal the Musical and Orgasmo. Pre-production for a South Park film began as early as midway through the production of South Park's first season, way back in 1998, with Comedy Central being very confident in the show's success. The reason the studios pushed for a South Park film so early was to cash in on the South Park phenomenon while it was still hot, explaining that the film Beavis and Butt-Head Do America wasn't quite as successful as Paramount wanted it to be due to the fact that it was released several years into the show's run. The film's creation was part of a contract Parker and Stone had signed in 1998 that required them to create episodes until at least 1999, which also granted them a slice of the merchandising royalties within the show's first year. The contract also stated that the creation of a feature film would result in an unspecified 7-figure cash bonus. Parker and Stone were personally dissatisfied with the quality of the second and third seasons of the show and thought the series would be cancelled soon. The duo decided to take this supposed last hurrah as an opportunity to do whatever they wanted, and what they wanted to do was a full-blown musical. The decision to make the film a musical was also a jab at the Disney Renaissance era that ran from 1989 until 1999, a period during which Disney films mainly consisted of musicals, making the style seem obligatory for the feature-length animation genre. The film was a joint production between Paramount Pictures and Warner Brothers due to the fact that Comedy Central, the home channel of the TV series, was owned by both studios' parent companies, those both being Viacom and Time Warner. Though Viacom gained full ownership of Comedy Central in 2003, the transition didn't relinquish full ownership of the South Park film franchise to Paramount. Warner Bros. Retained the right to co-produce any sequels until 2013, when WB gave up the rights as a part of a deal to co-produce the Christopher Nolan film Interstellar. Paramount pushed Parker and Stone to aim for a PG-13 movie in order to make the film more accessible, even showing the duo a chart of how much more money a PG-13 rated film could make than an R-rated one. The rebellious creators stated they wouldn't work on a South Park film unless they went for a hard R rating. The season 1 episode Death served as a huge influence on the film's script. In Parker's own words, quote, "After about the first year of South Park, Paramount already wanted to make a South Park movie, and we sort of thought this episode would make the best model just because we like the sort of pointing at ourselves kind of thing," end quote. Trey and Matt used the movie Beavis and Butt-Head Do America as inspiration for the film, but not in the way one would expect. While fans of the Beavis and Butt-Head TV series, the duo was personally disappointed by the film, seeing it as more of a feature-length episode of Beavis and Butt-Head instead of a project that could stand on its own. They wanted Bigger, Longer, and Uncut to be its own thing. Many of the staff members that worked on the film were also simultaneously working on the 3rd season of the series, resulting in extreme scheduling mishaps that led to multiple changes being made to the film as close to 2 weeks to its release. The movie's artists used a multiprocessor SGI Origin 2031 multiprocessor. Origin 2000 serves with a whopping 1.1 terabytes of storage for both rendering and asset management. In layman's terms, this means the backgrounds, characters, and other items could be saved separately or as fully composited scenes, with quick and painless access to the assets later. Bigger, Longer, and Uncut was the first ever feature-length R-rated animated film to be created using computer animation. While not 3D like Sausage Party, it was created using, well, computers. The film was created using 3D Alias Wavefront Power Animator software running on Silicon Graphics 02 and Octane workstations. Characters were designed with texture mapping, and shading resembled the 2D paper cutout stop motion that the series was initially founded on. Parker and Stone intended to fill the film with as much vulgarity as possible as a means of revenge towards the MPAA for giving their previous film Orgasmo an NC-17 rating. Bigger, Longer, and Uncut would constantly get the NC-17 rating from the MPAA, with the association frequently requesting that they remove key elements to give it an R rating, which Stone and Parker would do, only to replace the content with even more vulgar content. Matt and Trey claimed that the MPAA rejected the film's original title, South Park, All Hell Breaks Loose, due to a policy that MPAA allegedly had that all films must have a G-rated title. According to MPAA spokesperson Richard Taylor, this was a blatant lie, claiming All Hell Breaks Loose was never a potential title for the film while they were involved. According to Trey Parker, the film's title is a dick joke that went way over the heads of the MPAA. It wasn't until after the film was released that the association put 2 and 2 together. The film originally opened with Saddam Hussein being executed via electric chair, but was cut for how gory it was. One part of the scene survived, which is the response to the question, quote, "Any last words?" This instead was given to Philip as he and Terrence are about to be executed toward the end of the film. He says, "How's about get me the fuck out of this chair? How's that for last words?" The original idea for the internet video of Cartman's mom involved her having sex with a horse off screen, but the MPAA rejected the idea due to bestiality, even though the movie features a picture of a man having sex with a horse. When they pitched the idea of a German man taking a dump on Miss Cartman, they gave it the green light. Originally, Winona Ryder was supposed to shoot ping pong balls out of her vagina as the joke initially suggests, but the creative team was forced to make a bait and switch joke by the MPAA, resulting in her hitting them with a ping pong paddle by her crotch. Conan O'Brien originally pulled out a gun and shot himself in the head, but the MPAA rejected that method due to the recent school shooting at Columbine High School in Colorado. There were plans to originally feature a scene that took place in a concentration camp located in the town. Kyle would have been issued a yellow star for doing well in school. Kyle's brother Ike was originally meant to accompany the boys on the battlefield, as is seen in early trailer footage and promotional screenshots, but his role was cut down for pacing. The attic scene was added in at the last minute to explain his absence. As a punchline to the Operation Human Shield joke, every male character except for Chef was meant to die in the war, with all of them being revived by Satan in the end. In the final cut, the only casualty is Mr. Garrison. In an earlier draft of the script, it was revealed that Cartman's favorite snack, Cheesy Poofs, were actually a Canadian product and therefore banned in the United States, much to his annoyance. Henny originally had to get Snacky S'mores as proof of purchase in order to get his wish granted by Satan. A remnant of this subplot remains in the movie when Kenny's ghost asks Cartman for Snacky S'mores. Wendy originally went on multiple dates with Stan to go see Terrence and Philip, only to get bored with both the movie and him, claiming that the movie was the only thing they really had in common. The film was screened for the MPAA a total of 6 times before they gave in and granted the film its R rating. This was mainly due to a plea by an unnamed Paramount exec who stated that making drastic edits in animation is really expensive. The last cut the studio screened for the MPAA was given an NC-17 rating, which caused an unnamed Paramount marketing executive to call Stone and Parker and tell them that they, quote, needed that R rating. This prompted Matt Stone to call and freak out on producer Scott Rudin, which in turn prompted Rudin to call and freak out even harder on the MPAA. The next day, the film was given an R rating without any alteration or reason. The original trailer for the film took tasteless jabs at Walt Disney and the Disney Animation Studio, something that really angered Parker and Stone, stating it was, quote, everything we didn't want the film to be. Paramount took the songs from the film to create a music video that aired on MTV, which had all of the R-rated elements cut out to appease standards and practices. Paramount sent the tape to Parker and Stone over a weekend for their approval and needed it back by the following Wednesday to air it accordingly. Furious by the edits made, Stone threw the tape into the trunk of his car, an action that almost provoked Paramount into suing the duo. Much like the opening of the show, the film's credits tell us that the celebrities parodying the film had no involvement or endorsement for their portrayals. Among these mentioned are Conan O'Brien, Brooke Shields, US President Bill Clinton, Winona Ryder, and the Baldwin brothers. While the celebrities in the film weren't portrayed by their real-life counterparts, some of them were played by other celebrities. The Baldwin brothers were played by Canadian comedian David Foley, while Minnie Driver lent her voice to the film's iteration of Brooke Shields. While Gregory was primarily voiced by Trey Parker, his singing voice was courtesy of Broadway actor Howard McGillian. McGillian is perhaps best known for playing the Phantom from Phantom of the Opera longer than any actor in the show's history. All members of MAC, Mothers Against Canada, were played by actress Mary Kay Bergman, who voiced practically all of the show's female characters throughout the first 3 seasons. Bergman unfortunately passed away not long after the film was released. A few soldiers in the film were played by famous musicians. One US soldier was played by the Police drummer Stuart Copeland, and a Canadian fighter pilot was voiced by Nick Rhodes of the British band Duran Duran. Dr. Gwash, the surgeon that fails to save Kenny, was played by Hollywood actor and director George Clooney. Clooney is a huge fan of South Park and previously voiced Stan's dog Sparky in the episode Big Gay Al's Big Gay Boat Ride. George Clooney as Dr. Gwash is a reference to his role of Dr. Doug Ross on the TV show ER, which he played for 108 episodes. When he removes his hood at the end of the film, Kenny was briefly played by Mike Judge, the creator of iconic adult animation like Beavis and Butthead and King of the Hill. Matt and Trey collaborated with songwriter Mark Shaman when creating the film's iconic lineup of songs. Shaman said that the work he did on the movie was the most important gig of his career, crediting it with getting him work as a musical contributor on the Broadway musical Hairspray. The establishing song Mountain Town is a parody of the opening number of Disney's Beauty and the Beast, Belle, both in the music and choreography of the scene itself. The song Uncle Fucka was originally titled Motherfucker, but the wording was changed to achieve an R rating. Parker and Stone stated that this is one of the few times the MPAA's meddling actually made something funnier. Shaman devised the fart tap dancing break that occurs during Uncle Fucka. He asked South Park Studios for their entire library of fart sounds and spent hours listening to them and arranging them in a way that created tap rhythms. When the orchestra of a film comes to record the score, they typically don't want to hear the lyrics of the song in order to better focus their effort, but they will often be open to hearing the playback. Shaman recalls one of their viola players listening to Uncle Fucka in its entirety for the first time and then walking out of the room in disappointment muttering, quote, 4 years in the conservatory. Blame Canada was the 4th attempt at creating a song for Sheila Broflovsky to sing that would clearly convey the film's conflict of the enforcement of censorship. 4th time's a charm. One alternative idea involved a Disney-esque villain visual in which Sheila would transform into a Maleficent-like character. This was dropped to avoid demonizing parents. Blame Canada was partially inspired by the aftermath of the tragic shooting of Columbine High School in the respect that parents, law enforcement, and the media would try to blame the actions of the gunman on the likes of video games, movies, and music. Kyle's Mom's a Bitch is the only song in the film to originate from the TV series. It was originally featured in the episode Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh, albeit shorter. When Cartman shows us how kids around the world sing Kyle's Mom's a Bitch in different world languages, it's not just gibberish. Shaman actually commissioned Trey and Matt's assistants to get translations for the songs in as many languages as they possibly could. All of the translated performances were sang by Shaman himself, sped up. While What Would Brian Boitano Do wasn't a song from the original series, it is a callback to the original short from which South Park was birthed. The Spirit of Christmas short involved the boys watching Jesus and Santa fight each other and asking themselves, what would Brian Boitano do? The 3-part episode Imagination Land was originally conceived as a theatrically released feature-length sequel to Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, but was ultimately used for the series due to a lack of ideas for episodes at the time. Though initially denied by Paramount, it was confirmed in a 2001 interview with Metallica that the vocals for the song Hell Isn't Good were performed by Metallica's lead singer, James Hetfield. For whatever reason, the song Hell Isn't Good is missing from the film's official soundtrack. It has never been added in reissues either. Eyes of a Child is meant to be a mockery of the pop versions of Disney songs that would often appear in the credits of their feature-length films during their renaissance, like Beauty and the Beast, A Whole New World, and Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Trey Parker and Matt Stone wanted to produce a music video of Eyes of a Child in which Michael McDonald would be on a beach singing, with the song projected onto a white sheet, but the studio rejected it. The song Up There was a jab at the seemingly obligatory songs in Broadway musicals in which the characters would always sing about what they want in life. Trey was also inspired by the song Part of Your World from The Little Mermaid. The song La Resistance was inspired by the number One More Day from the musical Les Miserables, of which Trey is a huge fan. Shaman had never seen it, requiring him to study the entire soundtrack constantly in order to get the feel of the song right. Let's check out some movie tidbits you may have missed. First off, Satan has a framed photo of actor Skeet Ulrich mounted above his bed. Ulrich is known for his roles in the film Scream and As Good as It Gets. In the film's final battle, Cartman's V-Chip considers Barbara Streisand a swear word. On the emergency room schedule, Dr. Churmsky's job is to disembowel Kenny. In Mr. Mackey's room, there is a poster that reads Get High on poetry. This is based on a quote that was said to Matt Stone by one of his high school teachers. The exact quote being, "Son, you need to know not to use pot as a natural high. Instead of getting high with pot, get high with poetry." The pianist that appears during Big Gay Al's Super is modeled after the film's co-songwriter that we've been talking so much about, Mr. Mark Shaman. The doctor's replacing Kenny's heart with a baked potato is a reference to the song Spadoinkle from Trey Parker's film Cannibal the Musical, which contains the lyrics, "My heart's as full as a baked potato." Contrary to popular belief, the film was never banned in Iraq. Paramount actually never made any attempt to release it there due to its portrayal of their leader, Saddam Hussein. income. According to a pie chart that appears in the film regarding the Canadian economy, most of the country's money is made from Terrence and Phillip, the snowball machine, tourism, the log industry, pornography, and filming the X-Files. Among the flags outside the United Nations are a skull and crossbones pirate flag, as well as a rainbow flag symbolizing gay pride. One of the black soldiers in the film blurts out, "Used to think West gonna die?" This is a reference to Jar Jar Binks from everybody's favorite Star Wars film, The Phantom Menace, which was released very close to Bigger, Longer, and Uncut in May of 1999, making this a very quick response in true South Park fashion. On top of screening Asses of Fire, the movie theater is also showing the films Mecha Streisand Takes New York, The Milk Song, and Rat Kicker. As we've stated in our 107 South Park facts, the show's creative team likes hiding the alien visitors from the plot in various episodes, and the movie is no different. One can be seen on the dollar bill handed to Conan, while others can be seen in a photo frame in Cartman's room. And also a final one can be seen within the crowd during the reprise of Mountain Town. The film contains 399 swear words because the MPAA had told the filmmakers that had they included 400 curse words, the film would have received an NC-17 rating outright. The 399 curses are just another middle finger in a long line of middle fingers directed at the MPAA. When the boys are watching the Miss Cartman porno video, the stop button on the toolbar is replaced by an obscene drawing labeled sphincter. Throughout the film's 81-minute run, Stan vomits a total of 5 times. Kyle's mom's organization, MAC, or Mothers Against Canada, is a spoof of the real-life non-profit organization known as MADD, or Mothers Against Drunk Driving, which seeks to stop underage drinking and drunk driving while also supporting those who have been hurt by such actions. The film contains an after-credit scene featuring Kyle's younger brother, Ike. Unlike most post-credit scenes, this one appears after the closing corporate logos. There is a framed portrait of former US Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall on the wall within Mr. Garrison's classroom. Marshall is noted as being the first African-American justice to serve. The end of the film credits the characters with performing the film's musical numbers, not the actors who actually portrayed them. Real crew members are listed as writing and producing them though. After 3 full seasons on the air, the theatrically released film marks the first time Kenny's unhooded head was revealed to the audience. At the end of the film, Saddam Hussein is credited as being played by himself. In reality, Saddam is played by Matt Stone. The film opened first in the United States on June 30th, 1999 and raked in over $14.7 million during its opening weekend alone. The film grossed a whopping $83 million worldwide by the end of its theatrical run, making it the highest grossing R-rated animated film of all time, a title that it held from 1999 until 2016 when it was dethroned by Sausage Party. Due to the controversy surrounding Bigger, Longer, and Uncut's R rating, the MPAA began backing up their ratings on posters by providing explanations for why a film is rated the way it is. Due to the backlash received over South Park's theatrical release, the president of the MPAA, Jack Valenti, has gone on record as saying he regrets granting the film an R rating instead of an NC-17 rating. During its theatrical run, there were numerous reports of underage children purchasing tickets to the PG-13 Will Smith flop Wild Wild West in order to gain entry into South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. Legendary film critic Roger Ebert gave the film 2.5 stars, writing that it was the year's most slashing political commentary. In his review, he also stated that it was too long and runs out of steam, but it serves as a signpost for our troubled times. Just for the information it contains about the way we live now, thoughtful and concerned people should see it. After all, everyone else will. Bigger, Longer, and Uncut achieved 81% on Rotten Tomatoes' almighty tomato meter, with the critical consensus being that its jokes are profoundly bold and rude, but incredibly funny at the same time. Bigger, Longer, and Uncut was named the 6th greatest animated movie of all time by Time magazine, beating out other animated classics like Toy Story and Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. Monty Python member Terry Gilliam placed the film on his personal list for the top 10 animated films of all time, something Stone and Parker must feel very proud of since they're such big fans of Monty Python's Flying Circus, which was a big inspiration for South Park. Comedian Chris Rock cites South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut as the funniest movie he has ever seen, stating to this very day, no movie has ever made him laugh so hard. Parker and Stone screened the scene of Conan O'Brien's death in the film for the man himself on Late Night with Conan O'Brien. O'Brien responded that his interns found the scene hilarious, but were quite annoyed by the fact that the late night set in the film is at the top of the GE building when it is in fact on the 6th floor. While most celebrities targeted by South Park tend to respond with outrage and lawsuits, Brian Boitano saw the movie and responded to his inclusion with appreciation and laughter and referred to the musical number as surreal. As mentioned in our South Park 107, while Matt and Trey did not require permission to use Brian Boitano's name or likeness for the film, Brian Boitano required their permission to use the phrase "What would Brian Boitano do?" for t-shirts Brian Boitano was selling for a charity event. South Park was honored at the 2000 Academy Awards with Blame Canada being nominated for Best Original Song. Unfortunately, it was beat out by Phil Collins' "You'll Be in My Heart" from Disney's Tarzan. The song was to be performed live at the Academy Awards but ran into trouble with ABC's Standards and Practices Department, which demanded demanded that the song be altered to be more TV family friendly. Shaman commented that that action was ironic given the fact that the film as well as the song itself was about censorship. Blame Canada was performed live at the 2000 Academy Awards by legendary comedian Robin Williams. Albeit a bit altered for the network, despite this, Matt Stone stated that he was pleased with Williams' rendition and was impressed by the production value. Trey and Matt showed up to the Oscars in dresses, with Trey wearing a replica of the Versace dress Jennifer Lopez wore to the 2000 Grammys, while Matt wore a replica of the pink Ralph Lauren dress worn by Gwyneth Paltrow at the 1999 Oscars. Years after they attended the Oscars, Stone and Parker claimed that they also took acid before the show and were essentially tripping out the entire time. Though Parker and Stone felt that they had no chance of winning the Oscar for Best Original Song, they were both shocked and offended that they lost to Phil Collins. They responded to this personal tragedy in season 4 by ridiculing Collins for 2 episodes straight in Cartman's silly Hate Crime 2000 and Timmy 2000. The original DVD release of the film was somewhat scrutinized by the public, as the only bonus features it offered were 3 theatrical trailers. This was due to the fact that little to no documentation of the film's creation exists. The film was even released on the infamous Laserdisc format in January 2000. It has since proven to be an extremely rare collector's item. Bigger, Longer, and Uncut earned itself a spot in the 2001 edition of the Guinness Book of World Records, taking home the record for the most swearing in an animated film. Besides containing 399 swear words, it also contains 128 offensive gestures and 221 acts of violence. On there, the Mark, Tom, and Travis Show tour in 2000, Blink-182 would often end their songs with lines from the film song Uncle Fucka. This can be heard on the live album of this tour. Illinois-based wrestler Evan Galestico of the Lethal Wrestling Alliance has used the rock version of What Would Brian Boitano Do as his entrance theme music. He claims it's his favorite song he's ever used. Trey and Matt watched the film for a second time in 2009 for the commentary track on the Blu-ray re-release, only to admit that neither of them had any recollection of creating the film due to their hectic work schedules. Upon watching the movie again, Trey and Matt regretted not having Butters appear in the film, as he would become one of their favorite characters over time. Butters didn't become a prominent character on the show until after the film was made.
Ah, blame Canada. Our country never did recover from that one. Frederator's next South Park adventures come after about a 6-year gap. For a while there, it just seemed like folks weren't really looking for South Park content. But no, it regained the spotlight and defined an era of TikTok content. With 25 years under its belt, South Park is an institution of satire, animation, and entertainment in general. The past few years have seen the series go through a number of changes, ups and downs, and of course, a global pandemic. So let's take a closer look at what Stan, Kyle, Cartman, and Kenny have been up to over the past few seasons. This is 107 facts about South Park.
Welcome to ChannelFrederator, the cartoon central of the internet. Before we begin, we publish new videos every week, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video.
Number 1. From its earliest days, South Park was created by Matt Stone and Trey Parker, and you won't be surprised to hear that the two are still working on South Park to this day. Number 2. In preparation for season 21, Parker took some time in an interview to reflect on season 20. Parker said that 20 was rife with difficulties, describing it as a headfuck, and saying how they were so happy when it was done. Number 3. For season 21, Matt Stone and Trey Parker and the rest of the team at South Park Studios wanted to go back to South Park's roots and focus on the kids. They had wanted to do that all throughout season 20, but didn't really get the chance. Number 4. At the time, they still had to lean into the story of Mr. Garrison as Trump. They couldn't avoid that plot point and had to balance it with the other stories that they wanted to tell. So while Garrison would be included in season 21, he would take less of the spotlight. Number 5. One of the biggest struggles of season 20 was the serialization format that the writers were trying. Matt Stone said that in some ways it was cool and in some ways it trapped us, and that the way they do South Park is not compatible with serialization. Number 6. Matt Stone described how they spent the first 18 seasons of the show looking for each episode to have a resolution, where other shows specifically design the ends of their episodes to lead to the next. Number 7. In that spirit, for the first episode of season 21, South Park Studios considered leaving that episode's ending open and without the sitcom ending resolution they'd done for so long. Number 8. Serialization in season 20 made Trey Parker better appreciate the tonal differences between each South Park episode in the past. He said he missed the variety. One week would be about the kids, another week would be about Randy. It was always changing focus. Number 9. Moving into season 21, Trey Parker had one particular particular through line he wanted to do more, with Cartman's relationship with Heidi Turner. He liked her character and didn't want her to just disappear. He also thought it was funny that Cartman was now stuck in this relationship. Number 10. Remember how the end of Season 20 heavily teased the looming militant rise of member berries? Well, that's pretty much the last we ever hear from them, so why did this plot get dropped? Number 11. According to Trey Parker, member berries completely vanished because of the movie Ready Player One. He said that Ready Player One was the most member berry thing ever invented. We can't out member berry that. Turns out that all the member berries left South Park to go be in Ready Player One. Parker said it himself, so that's canon. Number 12. With or without member berries, Season 21 officially debuted on September 13th, 2017, kicking off with the first episode, White People Renovating Houses. Number 13. Many parts of the episode are parodying the Unite the Right rally that took place in Charlottesville just a month earlier in August 2017. This episode actually activated a number of viewers' Google Homes and Amazon Alexas. Hearing the episode, viewers' digital assistants were suddenly setting 7 a.m. alarms and adding all kinds of wild items to shopping lists. Of course, this was no accident. South Park Studios intentionally set out to mess with people. Number 15. The second episode of Season 21, Put It Down, was nominated for a Primetime Emmy for Outstanding Animated Program. Number 16. Episode 4, Franchise Prequel, was released as a tie-in for the latest South Park game, South Park: The Fractured But Whole. This episode serves as a prequel and directly leads into the events of the game. Number 17. In fact, the final scene of the episode in Cartman's basement is nearly identical to the scene from the Fractured But Whole's promotional video from E3 2017. There's just a few differences in the dialogue. Number 18. Episode 5, Hummels and Heroin, features a song by hip-hop artist Killer Mike, specifically written for the episode, called They Got Me Locked Up in Here. Number 19. Just a day before Hummels and Heroin came out, South Park released the new video game that I mentioned earlier, The Fractured But Whole. You guys getting tired of that yet? Number 20. The game was published by Ubisoft in collaboration with South Park Studios. Number 21. Like The Stick of Truth, the preceding South Park game, The Fractured But Whole is written entirely by Matt Stone and Trey Parker themselves. Number 22. The Fractured But Whole is actually twice as big as The Stick of Truth. The final script ended up being about 360 pages long, around the same length of about 4 to 5 feature films, according to the game's executive producer, Frank C. Agnon II. Number 23. Between the two of them, Matt Stone and Trey Parker alone recorded about 20,000 different lines of dialogue for the game. Number 24. At one point during development, Trey Parker got sick and needed emergency gallbladder surgery. He actually managed to convince his doctor to let him leave the hospital for a time to record lines. Number 25. The game originally had a different title, The Butthole of Time. However, Ubisoft wouldn't let that fly. The publisher said that retailers would refuse to stock the game with butthole in the title. Number 26. And so, Trey Parker sat at his desk, determined to find out a workaround. Sure enough, he found a family-friendly way to sneak butthole into the title with The Fractured But Whole. Number 27. Funny enough, unlike The Stick of Truth, The Fractured But Whole was released worldwide without any censorship. The game's associate producer, Kimberly Wiegened, said that it wasn't because the game was less raunchy. Instead, she suggested that censorship standards had likely evolved to be more flexible. Number 28. Season 21's 6th episode, Sons o' Witches, is a Halloween episode. Therefore, the South Park opening was modified to have a Halloween theme for this episode. Number 29. Episode 7, Doubling Down, aired on November 8th, 2017, 1 year after Donald Trump was elected president of the United States. The episode even throws out a happy anniversary at the end. Number 30. In episode 9, Super Hard PC-ness, Kyle starts Millennials Against Canada, a direct callback to his mom's Mothers Against Canada from the 1999 South Park movie, South Park. Bigger, longer, and uncut. Both even have MAC shirts. Number 31. In episode 10, Splatty Tomato, you can see Ike riding a dog. A true Canadian, Ike rides a Newfoundland, a dog breed native to Canada. Number 32. And so, Season 21 was finally finished. Season 22 would debut just about a year later on September 26, 2018, with the first episode, Dead Kids. Number 33. Leading up to Season 22, Comedy Central aired sarcastic commercials urging people to reach into their hearts, make the right decision, and for good and all cancel South Park. Number 34. Well, the joke might have hit a little too hard. When Dead Kids debuted, it hit a 1.09 viewership rating, making it the lowest rated season premiere in South Park's history. Number 35. Unsurprisingly, episode 2, A Boy and a Priest, was denounced by the Catholic League for Religious and Civil Rights. The group stated that the episode's assertions were factually inaccurate and that, and I'm quoting them here, the cartoon victim carriers should have been depicted as adolescents, not kids. That is a real quote. Number 36. The suggestion for Father Maxi to be sent to the Maldives is a joke under itself. The only legal religion in the Maldives is Islam, and the country is considered one of the most anti-Christian countries in the world. Number 37. The title of episode 3, The Problem with Apu, is a direct reference to the 2017 documentary The Problem with Apu, which examines racial stereotypes depicted by Apu from The Simpsons. Number 38. The title isn't the only cancel culture reference either. The whole idea of Mr. Hanky taking Ambien and tweeting racist stuff is making fun of Roseanne Barr. She had tweeted some offensive material at the time and also blamed them on the same drug. Number 39. Episode 4, Tegrity Farms, is the first episode to feature what would become the long-running joke/setting of, you guessed it, Tegrity Farms. It all started here. Number 40. Both the title and plot of episode 5, The Scoots, is a parody of the Alfred Hitchcock horror classic, The Birds. Number 41. Set on Halloween, this episode features a number of background characters wearing different superhero Halloween costumes referencing heroes in the fractured butthole. You can also spot some Fortnite costumes thrown in there too. Number 42. Episode 6, Time to Get Cereal, is part 1 of a 2-episode plot centering around, yes, Al Gore and Man Bear Pig. The follow-up episode is titled Nobody Got Cereal. Number 43. The 2 episodes make fun of climate change denial, including South Park's own denial from back in the day. South Park originally introduced Al Gore and Man Bear Pig to make fun of the alarmism behind global warming. Well, turns out he was right and South Park was wrong, so these 2 episodes are a way for South Park to point the finger at themselves. Number 44. When asked about the updated portrayal, Al Gore said he thought it was a hell of a statement by South Park and he appreciated it a lot. Number 45. For Nobody Got Cereal, the fight between Man Bear Pig and Satan is actually modeled after the fight between the Hulk and the Abomination in 2008's The Incredible Hulk. Number 46. In episode 9, Unfulfilled, Jeff Bezos is depicted as a Talosian from the 1965 Star Trek pilot The Cage. Talosians are actually the first aliens ever shown on Star Trek. Number 47. There's another more subtle Star Trek reference in this episode too. Larry Zawiski has a Klingon Empire flag on his bike. Number 48. Larry was actually played by Casey Nicholaw, the choreographer and co-director of the Book of Mormon with Trey Parker. He also appears in the next episode. Number 49. The end of episode 10, Bike Parade, features a number of cameos from some long-absent South Park characters, like Dr. Mephisto, Mr. Slave, Big Gay Al, and even Mr. Garrison, who hadn't appeared all season. Number 50. Season 23 debuted on September 25th, 2019, with episode 1, Mexican Joker. Number 51. Just 2 episodes in, South Park managed to ruffle even more feathers with Banned in China. And yes, indeed, the episode was banned in China. Number 52. In fact, after this episode, the entire South Park series was banned in China. All 23 seasons were completely removed from the Chinese internet. All traces of the show were scrubbed from Chinese movie review website Douban, and nothing comes up if you search South Park on popular Chinese social media site Weibo. There are even more examples. The Chinese government's South Park erasure was thorough. Number 53. So why exactly was South Park banned? Unsurprisingly, it's because the episode was critical of the Chinese government's rampant censorship, specifically when it comes to the Dalai Lama, homosexuality, and Winnie the Pooh. Number 54. South Park Studios actually cast the episode's Winnie the Pooh impersonator Brock Baker just 2 days before the episode debuted. He also voiced Piglet in the episode. Number 55. Banned in China was actually released on October 2nd, 2019, just 1 day after the 70th anniversary of the founding of the People's People's Republic of China. Number 56. South Park responded to China's ban with an official apology, leading in with, "Just like the NBA, we welcome the Chinese censors into our homes and into our hearts." Number 57. Those shots fired at the NBA are in reference to the Houston Rockets general manager Daryl Morey. Morey once posted, "Fight for freedom, stand with Hong Kong." In response, Chinese mega company Tencent, NBA's partner in China, suspended all business dealings with the Houston Rockets. Not long after that, Morey profusely apologized for supporting the protests in Hong Kong at the time. Number 58. On October 8th, protesters in Hong Kong actually played the banned South Park episode in the Sham Shui Po district, just as a middle finger to the government. Number 59. Also, the songs that Crimson Dawn plays are real metal songs. The song they play at the fair is Useless Sacrifice by Death Decline, and the song In the Barn, A Second Skin by Dying Fetus. Number 60. Oh, and the animation of the scene where Randy strangles Winnie the Pooh is a direct callback to the early strangulation scene from No Country for Old Men. Number 61. Episode 3, Shots, is actually the 300th episode of South Park. Number 62. The episode even slightly references this accolade. Randy celebrates that Tegrity Farms has made $300,000. Number 63. Also, for the first time in 300 episodes, Randy and Cartman's mom Leanne actually directly interact with each other. Number 64. Cartman's comments about free speech and Taco Tuesday are both digs at LeBron James. Around the time the episode came out, LeBron cautioned Hong Kong protesters that free speech has negative consequences, and even tried to trademark the phrase Taco Tuesday. Number 65. Also, the Goo Man in this episode is a parody of Daniel Plainview, Daniel Day-Lewis's ruthless, oil-hungry character from There Will Be Blood. Number 66. Episode 5, Tegrity Farms Halloween Special, also got its own special Halloween-themed opening number with Randy at the center of the action. Number 67. The events and even the music of this episode are based on the horror movie Creepshow. Number 68. There's a tiny Easter egg in the background of Randy's party. You can see OG South Park cryptid Scuzzlebutt carved into a pumpkin. Number 69. The 6th episode season finale is not, in fact, the season finale. Instead, the title refers to the end of marijuana growing season for Randy and Tegrity Farms. Number 70. Mr. Garrison suggests that Randy use a system called DARVO, Deny, Attack, Reverse Victim, and Offender. Turns out DARVO is an actual strategy that psychologists have studied being used by psychological abusers. Number 71. The row of Tegrity jars in the background at the end of the episode are named for the first 6 episodes of the season, except for the rightmost one, which reads Tegrity Burger. The last one is still an allusion to the substitute meat of Let Them Eat Goo. Number 72. In episode 7, Board Girls, we learn PC Principal's actual name, Peter Charles. Turns out those were his initials. What did you think they stood for? Number 73. Also, Heather Swanson, aka Blade Swaggart, is visually and orally based off the late great wrestling champion Macho Man Randy Savage. Number 74. South Park actually shouts out some real-life board gaming YouTube channels in this episode. At the Dice Studs meeting, they name drop BGG, Board Game Geek, Game Night, and the Dice Tower. BGG and the Dice Tower actually thanked the South Park team on Twitter. Number 75. In February of 2022, Trey Parker actually went on Dice Tower's channel as a guest to talk about his top 10 favorite board games. Number 76. Also, in a way, this episode subtly references the events of a different episode, Freemium Isn't Free. Board Girls follows up on Stan's interest in board games as an alternative to addictive gambling and mobile games. Number 77. When it first aired, episode 8, Turd Burglars only managed to pull in 660,000 viewers, making it the lowest viewed episode in South Park series history. Number 78. Also, this is the first time we hear Kenny's unmuffled voice since Mysterion Rises from 2010. Number 79. Episode 9, Basic Cable, drops some extra Terrence and Phillip lore. Turns out the show has 23 seasons, just like South Park itself. Number 80. We also get the same info on the Queef Sisters. Their show has had 10 seasons since they first debuted in season 13. Number 81. But forget the Queef Sisters. Basic Cable sees the brief return of the Crab People with their own show. This is the first time they've appeared on South Park since their debut in South Park is Gay, as the Queer Eye for the Straight Guy cast. Number 82. The end card of the episode offers the opportunity to buy streaming rights to the Scott Malkinson show, urging interested parties to call Trey Ray. Well, that's a real number you can call. The Fair Play Colorado number goes to a voicemail read by Trey Parker, offering streaming rights for a number of shows mentioned in the episode. Number 83. In fact, the whole episode is a meta joke about how the rights to stream South Park were bought by Warner Brothers and HBO from Disney-owned Hulu in October 2019. It's estimated that the rights went for $500 to $550 million. Number 84. As part of the deal, starting June 2020, all then 23 seasons of South Park would be made available on HBO Max. At least, that was the original plan. Number 85. Being banned in China is one thing, but episode 10, Christmas Snow, is actually the first episode of South Park to be banned in Russia. It's all thanks to the cocaine commercial. Number 86. When the COVID pandemic first started, South Park wasn't sure they'd even be able to keep going. Between quarantine and lockdown during the early months of the pandemic, Trey Parker thought the show was over. Number 87. Matt Stone was actually the first one to suggest working out a way to make the show from home. Sure enough, South Park Studios found its footing amid the new regulations. Number 88. On September 30th, 2020, season 24 kicked off with the hour-long pandemic special. Well, 48 minutes without commercials, that is. Number 89. This is actually the first time in South Park history that they've had an hour-long special like this. Number 90. Also, the pandemic special is the first South Park episode to be released on HBO Max as part of their new deal, 24 hours after the episode debuted. Number 91. Sure enough, the pandemic special was followed up with episode 2, the South Park Q vaccination special, months later in March 2021. Number 92. Trey Parker and Matt Stone even have a brief cameo in this episode as themselves. On Mr. White's bulletin board of evil elites, there's a picture of them from the movie Basketball. Number 93. South Park would see another big shakeup in August of 2021. They signed a massive deal with Viacom CBS and MTV Entertainment Studios for 14 films to be released on Paramount+. Number 94. The deal also renewed South Park for an additional 3 10-episode seasons through season 30, which is set to release in 2027. The deal was estimated to be about $900 million over the 6-year term. Number 95. While Viacom described these new South Park projects as films in their marketing, Trey Parker and Matt Stone made sure to clarify that they were made for TV films. Parker said that these films could be as long or short as they wanted. Number 96. At the time, the South Park team was still working remotely, with the South Park Studios location closed. At one point, while making the specials in the previous year, Parker was in LA while Stone was in New York, and the two never actually worked face to face. Number 97. The first film episode as part of the Viacom CBS deal was South Park Post-COVID. It was released on Paramount Plus November 25th, 2021, and was followed up a few weeks later with the second Paramount Plus special, South Park Post-COVID: The Return of COVID, as a direct sequel. Number 98. These 4 specials would count as season 24, but season 25 would begin in earnest with Pajama Day. The episode aired on February 2nd, 2022 as a normal episode, not exclusive to Paramount Plus. It also appeared on HBO Max the next day. Number 99. Pajama Day was actually the first episode to air in South Park's normal time slot since the pandemic began. Number 100. In episode 3, City People, the Coney Island hot dog stand is an actual restaurant in Bailey, Colorado. The show says that it's in Aspen Park, but it hasn't been there since 2006. Number 101. South Park closed out the season on March 16th, 2022 with the Credigree Weed St. Patrick's Day special. Freeman's Tacos, Morgan Freeman's taco stand, is actually an Easter egg. It's also a vendor in the Fractured Butthole game. Number 102. At just 6 episodes, season 25 is the shortest season in South Park history. By runtime at least. Season 24 is still shorter with only 4 episodes in the form of specials. Number 103. 2 more specials would appear on Paramount Plus. Streaming Wars Part 1 on June 1st, 2022, and Part 2 over a month later on July 13th, 2022. Number 104. With that, South Park's 25th anniversary was just 1 month away to the date. The show first aired on August 13th, 1997 with Cartman Gets an Anal Probe. Number 105. Sure enough, South Park had big plans to celebrate. They held 2 concerts at the Red Rocks Amphitheater in Colorado on August 9th and 10th. The concert featured songs across South Park's history, played by Trey Parker, Matt Stone, and even bands Primus and Ween. Number 106. The concert aired on Comedy Central on August 13th, 25 years to the day of South Park's debut. It was available on Paramount Plus the next day. Number 107. At time of writing, season 26 of South Park is officially underway, having kicked off on February 8, 2023 with Cupid Yay. Jokingly, Matt Stone, who's Jewish, is credited as sole creator, writer, and director, while Trey Parker, who's not Jewish, was only credited as his assistant. And would you look at that? There's a really cool guy narrating this one. I wonder where I've seen him before. There is one absolute truth in life. You're either a Cartman person or a Kenny person. Nobody really bases their life around Kyle or Stan, right? I guess Butters is in the running too. Everyone knows it's Butters. But for now, going back to our original 4, Cartman got a video, so of course Kenny got one too. And here it is. Hot off the presses in April 2023, 107 Kenny McCormick facts you should know. Oh my god, they made a 107 facts video about Kenny. You better believe we did. Kenny McCormick has been around since South Park's earliest days and he's not leaving anytime soon unless South Park decides to kill him off again. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This is 107 facts about Kenny McCormick.
Welcome to ChannelFrederator, the cartoon central of the internet. Before we begin, we publish new videos every week, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video.
Number 1. Kenny is voiced by South Park co-creator Matt Stone. Number 2. Doing the Kenny voice is actually pretty easy. Stone simply cups his hands over his mouth, but he doesn't just mumble. Kenny has actual lines. Number 3. Like the other kids in South Park, Matt Stone originally did Kenny's voice without modulation, but it has since been digitally pitched up. Number 4. Because Kenny's lines are usually inconsequential, Matt Stone takes the opportunity to improvise with the character, often saying things that would make censors shudder. Number 5. There are times that we do hear Kenny though. His voice can be heard unmuffled in episodes like The Losing Edge, The Jeffersons, and You're Getting Old. Number 6. In a number of those instances, it's not always Matt Stone doing Kenny's voice. Sometimes Kenny is voiced by South Park animation director/producer Eric Stowe. Number 7. You can also hear Kenny unmuffled by his parka at the end of the South Park movie. South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut. Number 8. In that instance, when he simply says, "Goodbye, you guys," he's actually voiced by Mike Judge, creator of King of the Hill and Beavis and Butthead, among other things. Number 9. That's also the first time we see Kenny without his orange parka. You can see his full face and even his messy blonde hair. Number 10. To date, this is the only time Kenny's full face has been seen without anything obscuring it, though he's appeared without his classic parka on a few different occasions. Number 11. When the boys are trying to help Mr. Jefferson's son Blanket escape, they sub Kenny in Blanket's place. You can't see Kenny's eyes due to the mask he's wearing, but you can see the rest of his face, including his hair. Number 12. You can also see Kenny completely unhooded in You're Getting Old. He's only wearing a birthday hat on his head at Stan's 10th birthday party. Number 13. In the episode The Losing Edge, while you can see most of Kenny's face, his hat is pulled down lower than the other boys, partially covering one of his eyes. Number 14. While we're on the subject, Kenny canonically has blue eyes. We first learned Kenny's eye color when a turkey pulled it out in the episode Starvin' Marvin. Number 15. You can also see Kenny's blue eyes when Kenny's traditional model is morphed into an anime style in Good Times with Weapons. Number 16. Funny enough, Kenny was actually inspired by a real person. Trey Parker had a childhood friend who wore an orange parka that muffled his voice. The kid was even named Kenny. Number 17. Also, just like the character Kenny, Parker's friend Kenny was the poorest kid in the neighborhood. When writing the show, Parker and Stone knew the kids needed to have a poor kid to capture the feeling that every middle-class town had. Number 18. The real-life Kenny would also regularly skip school. Parker would joke to his friends that Kenny died when he was absent, leading to the now famous long-running gag in South Park. Number 19. The joke about Kenny dying first appeared in The Spirit of Christmas, Jesus vs. Frosty, a short made by Matt Stone and Trey Parker in 1992 while they were in college at the University of Colorado. Number 20. Kenny's wearing his signature orange parka. However, in this first iteration, you can still see his full face, nose, mouth, and all. Number 21. Even stranger, he's not called Kenny. Instead, the character that resembles Cartman is called Kenny, and he's the one who gets killed. Number 22. However, Kenny's next appearance would solidify the character as we know him. 1995's The Spirit of Christmas, Jesus vs. Santa. This time, the real Kenny gets killed, complete with the rats almost immediately swarming his corpse. Number 23. The running gag of killing Kenny would last throughout the first 5 seasons of South Park, with Kenny dying in nearly every episode. Number 24. In an unaired pilot version of South Park's first episode, Cartman gets an anal probe, Kenny is actually brought back to life in the end. However, he stays dead for the actual episode. Number 25. The first episode that Kenny survived was episode 9 of the first season, Mr. Hanky the Christmas Poo. He had a number of close calls throughout the episode teasing Kenny's death, but Kenny managed to escape unharmed. Number 26. Parker and Stone decided they'd let Kenny live because it was Christmas. Of course, Kenny would go on to get killed in plenty of subsequent Christmas episodes. Number 27. Kenny did manage to survive a number of times during the early years of South Park though. Kenny's death in City on the Edge of Forever flashbacks took place inside of Stan's dream, so the real Kenny technically made it out alive. Number 28. In Rainforest Schmainforest, Kenny gets struck by lightning, but lucky for him, his new girlfriend Kelly saves him with CPR. Number 29. For the two-parter episode, Do the Handicapped Go to Hell / Probably, Kenny survives thanks to a continuity error. He appears to be killed when he's hit by a bus that leaves his body behind in the first part. However, in part 2, his still alive body is scraped from the bottom of the bus. Number 30. A kid who's dressed as Kenny dies in the episode Fat Camp in a way that I won't dare describe on YouTube. Meanwhile, the real Kenny was alive and well in a New York jail for doing something to Howard Stern that I also won't dare describe on YouTube. Number 31. Of course, Kenny had a couple of close calls along the way. In the episode Terrence and Phillip Behind the Blow, Kenny is shown having all 4 of his limbs cut off, but not actually dying. Number 32. Meanwhile, in Cripple Fight, Kenny is simply carried off by a hawk. However, he pops up later in the episode among the scouts, so he does turn out to be just fine. Number 33. Towards the end of Starvin' Marvin in Space, Kenny ends up getting frozen in carbonite, just like Han Solo. Of course, we know Han Solo ended up surviving the process, so even though Kenny is never unfrozen in the episode, we can believe that he's still alive in there. Number 34. Kenny even had 3 different brushes with death in just one episode. Chicken Lover. First, he was almost crushed by a flipped car. Second, he gets sent flying into a brick wall. And third, he appears to be shot only to get up unharmed. Number 35. Stan had felt tricked so many times that he even got frustrated and said, "Damn it." Sure enough, Kenny gets killed at the end of the episode when a tree falls on him. Number 36. Some episodes, Kenny survives just by not being there. He doesn't appear in Pip, obviously, but he also doesn't show up in Cat Orgy or Two Guys Naked in a Hot Tub. Number 37. However, Kenny technically dies during the events of Cat Orgy and Two Guys Naked in a Hot Tub. Both episodes take place during the same night that Jubilee takes place, during which Kenny dies freeing Moses. It's a long story. Number 38. Just like in Jubilee, Kenny's deaths aren't always a freak accident. Sometimes he dies a hero. In the South Park movie, while he's actually dead for most of the film, he gives up his wish to come back to life to restore the world to the peace it enjoyed before the war with Canada. Number 39. In another example, Kenny gets electrocuted while connecting 2 wires to selflessly fix the generator for Hell's Pass Hospital. Number 40. Even while dead, Kenny still manages to save the day, like when he defeated Satan's army by using a golden PSP from heaven. Number 41. Of course, Kenny's known to be a great hero as his alter ego, Mysterion. As Mysterion, he even protected his sister Karen, saving her from a bully and getting sprayed with Dr. Pepper by their foster parents. Number 42. As for Kenny's other family members, he lives with his dad Stuart, his mom Carol, and his older brother Kevin. Number 43. Kenny also has a living grandfather. At least he did. Kenny's grandfather only appeared one time in the episode Fat Camp. He doesn't have a name, or one that we know at least, and didn't even say anything in his brief appearance. Number 44. Also, in a way, Kenny is part of Stan's family. In the episode Volcano, Stan's uncle Jimbo makes Kenny his honorary nephew. Number 45. While Kenny's brother Kevin has been around since the early days of South Park, Karen didn't actually appear until 2005 with the episode Best Friends Forever, the same one where Kenny saved heaven with the golden PSP. Number 46. The whole premise of that episode was based on the real-life case of Terry Schiavo. A woman in a vegetative state like Kenny's, with her husband and parents legally fighting over her medical custody. Number 47. Actually, Best Friends Forever is the episode that won South Park its first Emmy. Number 48. Oh, and Matt Stone and Trey Parker themselves confirmed that the they and the bastards in They Killed Kenny is self-referential. Kyle is referring to the creators of the show themselves. Bastards, breaking the fourth wall. Number 49. Of course, the running gag became something of a catchphrase for the whole show. The line appeared in all kinds of late 90s, early 2000s material as reference, such as Boy Meets World, Xena Warrior Princess, and even the Animorphs books. Number 50. The series of Fallout video games have referenced Kenny a number of times. In the first Fallout game, there's a character named Deputy Kenny. Sure enough, when he's killed, a message pops up on his computer that reads, "Oh my god, they killed Kenny." Number 51. Fallout 3 has a few Kenny shoutouts too. In the Operation Anchorage DLC, there's a character named Major McCormick, spelled with a K, not a C. When he gets shot in the head, another soldier shouts, "Oh my god, they killed McCormick! You gotta kill those bastards!" Number 52. Also, in the Point Lookout DLC, there's a little kid named Kenny living in the swamp, raised by the swamp people of the area. He's skilled at setting traps and even whistles part of the South Park theme song. Number 53. Oh my god, they killed Kenny has also appeared on a slew of South Park merchandise. Everything from shirts, hats, to bumper stickers. Number 54. The whole joke even got its own song, Kenny's Dead by Master P, a parody of the Curtis Mayfield song Freddy's Dead. Number 55. Kenny has even popped up in the world of academia. Southern Illinois University philosophy professor Randall Oxler penned an essay titled Killing Kenny, Our Daily Dose of Death, which details how Kenny's regular death gag can help viewers come to better terms with their own inevitable demise. Number 56. Oxler's essay actually appeared in a whole book analyzing South Park called South Park and Philosophy. Bigger, longer, and more penetrating. Number 57. Another Kenny-based essay by Karen Fry, a professor at University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point, is about Kenny's character and how it relates to the themes of existentialism. Number 58. Fry's essay appears in a different South Park and Philosophy book, the one subtitled, "You know, I learned something today." Number 59. At the University of Strasbourg, Sophie Rutschman discovered a mutation in adult fruit flies which caused them to die 2 days after they're infected with a particular bacteria. She named the mutation gene Kenny after the character from South Park. Number 60. By the end of season 5, Parker and Stone were sick of the gag themselves, so they decided to kill Kenny off for good with episode 13 of season 5, fittingly titled Kenny Dies. Number 61. While coming up with creative ways for Kenny to die had been fun for a while, Parker and Stone got tired of constantly thinking of new, interesting ways for it to happen. Number 62. They were actually originally considering to kill Kyle off, but that was only planned to be for a year. Number 63. By this point, the creators considered Kenny to be less of a character and more of a prop. Stone even called him an orange blob that just moves around. With no discernible way to develop his character, South Park officially gave Kenny the axe. For keeps this time. Number 64. As for his death in that episode, he died of a terminal case of muscular dystrophy, or at least that's what he appears to have had. We never got a proper diagnosis. Number 65. At the time, a small portion of South Park fans were so outraged by Kenny's seemingly permanent death that they threatened to boycott Comedy Central, the channel that aired and still airs South Park. Number 66. As far as the friend group goes, Kenny was effectively replaced by Butters Stotch, who even got his own episode as the season finale, fittingly titled Butters' Very Own Episode. Number 67. Butters' episode was designed as a kind of formal introduction for him, as he was planned to take a bigger role in the spotlight for the next season. Number 68. Butters was picked because at the time he was quickly becoming one of the more popular characters among fans. Number 69. As the season went on, Butters was eventually booted as Kenny's replacement in the crew, replaced by the hyperactive, coffee-addled Tweak Tweak. Number 70. Though Kenny was officially dead, he was still there, spiritually and literally. Later in the season, Cartman drinks Kenny's ashes thinking they were chocolate milk mix. Kenny's soul then inhabits Cartman's body, occasionally possessing Cartman and chiming in as Cartman channeled his words. Number 71. From here, Kenny's soul is exorcised from Cartman's body into a pot roast, which is then eaten by Rob Schneider, making him Kenny's new host until he also dies, presumably freeing Kenny's soul. Number 72. Rob Schneider actually died by being impaled by a flagpole, just like how Kenny was in the episode Weight Gain 4000. Number 73. Kenny wouldn't reappear in his own body until the end of season season 6's finale, Red Sleigh Down. He simply shows up totally fine. Turns out he'd just been hanging out the whole time. No explanation given. Number 74. Kenny was alive and the running gag was dead, but South Park would occasionally bust it out from time to time. After his return in Red Sleigh Down, Kenny wouldn't die again until Saddam Hussein destroyed him with laser vision in the season 7 finale, It's Christmas in Canada. Number 75. While there's no explanation given as to how Kenny returned, we do eventually get some explanation as to Kenny's curse of immortality. The earliest in-show explanation actually appears in the season 4 episode Cartman Joins Nambla. Number 76. In this episode, we see Kenny die only to be reborn as a totally different baby, his soul seemingly returning to his mother's womb. Number 77. Carol even mentions that it's the 52nd time that it's happened, making that newborn Kenny the 52nd incarnation of him. Number 78. The most recent explanation comes from the series of episodes featuring Kenny's run as Mysterion. Kenny's superpower is that every time he dies, his mom gives birth to him once again and he awakens in his bed, aged up to the same age. Number 79. Though he remembers everything, including how he died, mysteriously, nobody else in his life remembers him ever dying. Number 80. Turns out that Kenny's ever-continuing cycle of rebirth and immortality may have some connection to the cult of Cthulhu. Carol mentions that she and Stuart never should have gone to those cult meetings. Number 81. There's even a picture in the Necronomicon showing a group of cultists standing in a circle around a pentagram, attempting to summon an old one. At the center of that circle is a baby. It's possible that this ritual was performed on Kenny when he was a baby, giving him his powers. Number 82. For the record, it's not like Kenny's parents were devout Cthulhu worshippers. They just said they went to the cult meetings for the free booze. Number 83. However, while Kenny himself says that nobody ever remembers his deaths, this contradicts a couple of moments from earlier in the series. For example, in Cartman Land, when Cartman is being sued for Kenny's death, he protests that he dies all the time. Number 84. Other times, other characters have reacted to Kenny's death like it was business as usual, which it was at the time. In Chef Goes Nanners, after Kenny explodes from drinking water and eating antacid tablets, everyone laughs, and Stan says that was a good one. Number 85. Also, in 4th grade, when Kenny dies on a sled, Stan plainly states, well, who didn't see that coming? Number 86. Thing is, many of these early season deaths aren't considered canon in the way that his death in Kenny Dies or the Mysterion episodes are. Number 87. Even before the now seemingly canon explanation of Kenny's power, Trey Parker offered a few different explanations. At one point, when asked why Kenny dies, he simply explained that it's because he's poor. Number 88. Parker has also said that Kenny was a supernatural demigod, and even his resurrection in Red Sleigh Down was somehow tied to Jesus' death in that same episode. Number 89. Whether canon or not, in total, Kenny has died 126 times across the entire South Park franchise, including the series itself, movies, shorts, and video games. Number 90. Kenny even dies during South Park's opening number. From seasons 7 to 11, you see Kenny get his head cut off by a pair of scissors during each episode's title sequence. Number 91. Despite what he's famous for, Kenny is more than just his deaths. He's a multi-talented Renaissance man. For example, we learn that he's fluent in Romanian when he talks to the quintuplets in Quintuplets 2000. Number 92. In this same episode, we also see firsthand how talented of an opera singer Kenny is. Even before he makes it big in Romania, he sings La Donna Immobile from Rigoletto, an opera by Giuseppe Verdi. Number 93. Kenny can do more than just sing though. He can also play the drums. He played the snare drum during a Civil War reenactment and was also the drummer in Moop, playing alongside Stan and Kyle. Number 94. He can play more than the drums too. We can see that he clearly knows his way around a 5-string bass when he's playing Second Skin by Dying Fetus as part of Crimson Dawn. Number 95. Kenny's a music fan too. In particular, he seems to dig Peruvian flute music. He couldn't help but dance anytime the boys passed by a Peruvian flute band at the mall. Number 96. It's not enough for Kenny to sing and dance. He's a full-on triple threat with a penchant for theatricality. He managed to capture hearts and minds the world over as his enchanting alter ego, Princess Kenny. Number 97. Also, he's able to deliver passionate performances as his luchador wrestling persona, El Pollo Loco. Number 98. Kenny is certainly athletic enough to be a wrestler too. We've seen him do a backflip while infiltrating a military base and easily walk on his hands without stumbling, all while his butt is sticking out of his hood. Number 99. Also, we've already talked a bit about Kenny's gaming prowess too. He managed to reach level 60 in Heaven vs. Hell, passing God's test to become the Keanu Reeves of heaven and defeat Satan's army. Number 100. Perhaps even more impressively, Kenny played a human hunter in World of Warcraft, a race-class combination that wouldn't be possible in the game for another 4 years until the Cataclysm expansion. Number 101. Kenny is also shown to be a ruthless Magic the Gathering player. He's defeated the likes of Slaughterhouse and even the legendary Gadnuk, Breaker of Worlds. Number 102. Kenny's even more dangerous as a weapons expert. As Professor Chaos has seen firsthand, Kenny is perfectly accurate with a ninja star. Number 103. Firearms are no different for him. Kenny quickly took to hunting in the Volcano episode when he handily took down a ram with a shotgun. Number 104. Kenny was also able to get his hands on a sniper rifle in Poor and Stupid, but wasn't able to put it to work before losing it to a security guard. Number 105. Kenny loves NASCAR. That's the whole reason he acquired the sniper rifle in the first place. He loves NASCAR so much that he was looking to take Cartman out so he'd stop ruining it. Number 106. We've also seen that Kenny has an aptitude for demolitions and explosions. While he wasn't able to defuse the bomb on Timmy's wheelchair in time, he did manage to destroy the future-telling device with an explosion large enough to be seen from space. Number 107. Finally, as we see in the future timeline of South Park post-COVID, Kenny eventually goes on to become a Nobel Prize-winning humanitarian and scientist, keen to share his kindness and discoveries to make the world a better place. Who knows what else the world of South Park has in store for Kenny McCormick. And with that, we've reached the end of our South Park marathon. Hopefully you're just as sweaty and dehydrated as you would be after running a real marathon. That's the sign of a really good YouTube video. So, what'd you think? Did you learn something new about South Park today? Did this video send you on a crazy nostalgia trip? What series should we marathon next? Make sure you let us know down in the comments, and subscribe to ChannelFrederator for more like this. Thanks for watching, and remember, Frederator loves you.